gameplay. Yeah, well, yeah, we're live. But the gameplay footage isn't working. Oh, damn. Okay. Can you say something again? Ah. Uh, uh, say something now.
Is this any better?
You're too loud now. Say
Now I'm
something
too
now.
loud. Okay. What
Testing,
about now?
testing. Yeah, it should be good now. Um.
Mm,
Yeah. Sorry guys. Let's just start
they
over.
they said they said they hear you breathing.
They hear me breathing. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my god, damn, there's no noise gate when I'm doing it like this. Okay, so yeah, okay. I think
I'm not muted.
yeah, you're not muted. You should be fine now. You should be fine.
Jez is too low, but we can hear you now. So now you're too low, apparently.
I'm too low. Great.
I don't know.
Testing. Testing, testing.
Is
Testing.
everything good? I guess I don't know.
Okay.
Problems with tech, as you know, it wouldn't work on my end. I couldn't get everything right. So I guess I explained it again. I'll look at the responses to show OBS. I basically started up Streamlabs and basically said, "You've never used this whole program before. Sign in and start over." And I'm like, "Excuse me, I've been using this thing for years." And I had to rebuild all the scenes and everything to make it, to work. And then when I started streaming to YouTube, it was like YouTube wasn't having any of it. So instead of canceling the show because of tech problems, Jez is now streaming, which is why it is the way it is. So there might be some hiccups because, none of this was really planned. It was like last second, otherwise the show wouldn't exist. Hopefully everything is good now. I don't know why you don't be able to set up where you can't adjust people's audios or see them before you go live, Jez. It's kind of strange,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, I guess I'm not set up for that. I don't know, but now I will be set up for it. So
You're not set up for that. But anyways, I guess all right. So that's the explanation. Tech issues, stupid Streamlabs starting over for me, and I couldn't get it working, and YouTube didn't want to cooperate. So here we are. Hi, welcome to the Xbox 2 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, and with me, as always, is Jez Corden from Windows Central, managing editor. What's going on, buddy?
that's where I'm from. I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's been a long week. Very tired. Very eager to go to bed and chill. I'm looking forward to the weekend. But yeah, it's been a pretty good week. An interesting few days in the news sphere, I guess you could call it. I don't know. Have you had a good week? You been doing anything fun and interesting, or same old for Rand?
I mean, it's always usually the same old, same old. You know what I mean? Um, I did a couple guest spots and some podcasts. Did Iron Lord's podcast on Sunday? You showed up for a little bit, although
Yeah, I was there too.
you
Yeah.
got reamed. You got reamed by King, which was
Reamed.
fun. Yeah, he wasn't having any of your British pessimism.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He was a bit. He was a bit. I don't know what the word. A little bit upset with me for not holding the line. Not holding the line, but
because that's one
yeah.
thing you didn't do is you didn't hold the line.
I did not hold the line.
You were
But
basically throwing the line away.
I was throwing the line away. But hey, I'm doing my penance with the chippening.
Yes,
I'm gonna do the one chip challenge as penance, and that is tentatively next Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you want to see me suffer, We're going to do it on Patreon. We are going to post the clips on. We are, of course, going to post the clips publicly on Twitter and stuff like that. But I believe me and Gaz, for some reason, Gaz wanted to join in on the One Chip Challenge as well. So me and Gaz are doing the One Chip Challenge on our Patreon next week. We will post the clips on Twitter as well. So you know, but if you want to watch it live, you want to be there for the fun and the pain and the misery, patreon.com/XB2 for all that good stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah, you got to pay the price.
I got to pay the price.
You gotta pay it.
Yes, indeed.
Louise says, no, Rand, it was a flogging. You got flogged.
I got flogged.
I know. It was. Spitfire says another week. Ouch. It was supposed to be this week, but Jez has a lot of things going on. Doctor's appointments.
Yeah, I had
a lot of
some
traveling stuff.
Yeah, I had a bunch of traveling I had to do this week, for secret reasons again, and it just wasn't going to work to do it this week. But that's why we're doing it next week, and that'll be good.
And we are currently in negotiations with our guests for Xbox 2+1, trying to lock down the right date and time, because not everybody can always do every dates, but it's someone that has been highly requested.
Yes.
To be a guest for Xbox 2+1. We're just nailing down the finer details. It'll definitely be a very, 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 very interesting show whenever we are able to put that together. Might be early next month, but either way, you got the Chip Ultimate. It's gonna be fun because Gaz is gonna be there doing it. Hargeet wants to do it too. King wants to basically come in there and make fun of you, and Colt wants to be there in there as well.
Oh, Colt's coming as well. Oh, it's going to be a massive party. I didn't know that.
Yeah, everybody's basically going to be giving you crap because you were just like, this deal's not going through, and
well,
it's the opposite of everything.
Deal's not closed yet, man.
Deal's not closed. Yeah,
it's not
closed
yet.
It will be soon enough.
Yeah,
it's soon enough. It will be.
We'll see. There's still time. I
don't know.
But hey, we got a sponsor round.
Of course. So why don't you shift it into gear and drop your American accent and go do it.
Yes, because once again, everybody, we're sponsored by Manscaped. Today, we're here with a sponsor for your bouncing bundle of joy. And no, we're not talking about a baby. We're talking about your baby makers. That's right, today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. But just like babies, your delicate little guys have sensitive skin and deserve products that are not only skin safe, but made with safe ingredients. That's where Manscaped's Platinum Package comes in. From razors to shower care, this package goes above and beyond the gold standard for your body hair. Manscaped's Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. They designed this package to allow you to fully align your entire hygiene routine with elite products. Inside this Platinum Package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 Trimmer, Weed Whacker Ear and Nose Hair Trimmer, Ultimate Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo, Conditioner, Premium Deodorant, Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Spray Ball Toner, Anti-Chafing Boxers, the Shed Travel Bag, and more. Oh my god, that's a lot of stuff.
That is a lot of stuff.
So, treat your beautiful boys to the world's finest toys at manscaped.com and use our code XB2 for 20% off plus free shipping. And thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. So yes, Rand, Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0. I am a big fan. They sent me one. And it is probably the best hair products I've ever had in my life. So, yeah. Usually I just, buy the cheapest stuff you can find on the shelf, but this stuff it's just so damn good, and it really does make a difference, I never really bothered with conditioner before, and now my hair is lush and shiny. I could dip it into a mountainous stream and flick it about the place, kind of like those commercials, But yeah, that's Manscaped. Great stuff, and they, when you guys buy stuff from Manscaped, it really supports the channel. So, if you do want to help your boys head to manscaped.com, drop our code XB2, XB the number 2, in the checkout for 20% off and free shipping worldwide.
Indeed. But we also have shout-outs for the Patreon peeps at patreon.com/XB2. We have Saucy Mods, James Wiseau, The Grandest of Bip, Chris Parney, Starsman, Hey Blinken, Army Dude 52C, Ryan Kipple, Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Moronic Donkey 99, Makazilla, Randall Thor 19, Silas, Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Halo's the Franchise Player, K-Trax, Bright Tundra 1, Jasper Shap, Man with a Million Problems, but a Maiden Ain't One, Justin Duo, Frank Mariano, Peter Broking, Ace T. No, that's not my alt. Ace T and Madison, Untidy Tim, Grizzly Mofo OG, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Justin Sago, Andrew Courtney, Wagerman Achievement, The Scarecrow 121, Darren Tropey, Prof JJJ, Butterball 8, Ghostface Killer, Wolf King KPZ, and Ralph Wiggum. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Oh man, this still feels weird when I'm not actually in control of the podcast. I feel
why?
I feel like off my game because normally, I'm looking at OBS, making sure that you're not peaking because you normally peak sometimes, and I lower the audio because you were peaking a little bit during the Manscaped ad read.
I got too close to the mic
because you're such a professional podcaster, right?
I don't know how to stop peaking. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how microphones work at all.
You don't know. You've been podcasting now for 6 or 7 years, almost weekly, 275 episodes, which is what we're on. 275 episodes. I don't know how many countless guest appearances you do, and you're like, I don't know, microphones.
I don't get it. Like, how do you stop peaking? How do you stop it? I don't know. But yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I'll try not to move. I think it peaks when I get too close to the microphone. So I'll try and just stay here forever and not move.
Stay there and play Diablo 4.
I'm actually playing a different game right now.
I'm playing a game. What are you playing? Or can you
I'm
not even
playing
say?
Call of Duty World at War. the
God.
The OG 360 one, baby, because they fixed the servers. Yeah. That's
unbelievable.
What?
Unbelievable.
Why is that unbelievable? It's the best one, man. This is when Call of Duty peaked right here. It was World at War, I'm telling you.
What, it peaked back in 2008 or whatever it was?
Yeah, Microsoft paid $70 billion for a game that peaked back in 15,000 years ago. I don't know.
It's a good thing they didn't pay $70 billion for a franchise that is on the downturn and everybody hates, like Diablo. Jez always said to me, he's like, bro, Blizzard is so back. Like, I thought they were dead, and I don't want Microsoft to get them because they're going to ruin them. And it's like, don't worry, Jez. Blizzard's going to ruin themselves sooner or later. And what did they do? Overwatch. They admitted that players are leaving because the game's basically dying because of the changes they made, as you pointed out on Twitter. And then, out of nowhere, they released a patch for Diablo 4, and everybody hates it, and they hate the game now. They basically sucked the fun out of it. It's like, don't worry, Jez. Blizzard is going to... Oh, is it? I don't know about that.
I'm sorry, it's fake outrage, man. Because when I was trying to play the game earlier, I had a queue of 15 minutes. So it really kind of smells like
that's a fake queue right there.
Fake queue, yeah. I mean, it really kind of reminds me of when people boycotted Modern Warfare 2, and then everyone was playing it. It was the best-selling game that year. Interesting. Yeah.
Well, don't worry, Jez. Blizzards will always screw things up themselves by nerfing the fun of games. Is what they do.
Well, Blizzard hates fun. That is a meme. That is a long-standing meme that Blizzard hates fun. From the World of Warcraft community. There's something fun, Blizzard has to nerf it. But I don't know. I mean, people are still playing it. So there's a lot of noise on Twitter, but I'm not seeing a decrease in people playing it if my queue times or anything to go off.
You know how emotionally invested Jez is into that all stuff? He gets upset when people talk bad about Diablo 4. He's like, no, it's not that bad. Trying to defend the honor of Diablo and Blizzard. That's how much you know that Jez is like so invested in everything.
I'm telling you, man. There is an element of fake outrage.
What are you going to say to the people who are maining sorcerers and just got their whole class nerfed into the ground, huh?
Get good. Get good,
Oh,
man.
get good?
Skill
Uh-huh.
issue. Picking
Yeah, I
sorcerer is
bet.
a skill issue. But no, I mean, Blizzard is dropping the ball. Being completely serious about it. Overwatch is a very, very stark example. Overwatch is a complete and total shambles right now. Absolutely, devastatingly shambolic is the only way I can describe Overwatch right now. And they've just laid off the team responsible for the Overwatch League. So it's looking like that's about to be shut down as well. So Overwatch is probably heading towards the green pastures of maintenance mode, along with Heroes of the Storm, and So, but I don't think Microsoft's going to be magically able to turn that around. I mean, Overwatch is probably irredeemable at this point, but I don't know. And
Interesting.
Black
This
Sheep
is funny.
says, "Can we get back to timestamps?" Yes, we are doing timestamps
Yeah.
this week.
That's blame Jez for that.
Yes, I was slacking on the timestamps, and partially that's because we had such a chaotic show the week before last, and then last week, what happened last week?
Last week we had like 10 people on.
Yeah,
Last week,
that was
Friday
impossible
last
to do
week.
timestamps
Friday
for.
last week was ridiculous. It was a 6-hour show, and Jez had to even leave at some point. Because
That was too long.
It was way too long, and we had friends on. We had Code Eastwood, we had Lord Cognito, we had Gaz, we had Gaming Forte. Paris showed up, and then everything went to went crazy after when the judgment came down, and they basically threw out the FTC's appeal, or the case or whatever, or the emergency injunction, and it was like, nope, you lose, FTC. And then everybody came back. Cognito came back, Paris came back, Colt came back, Zalker jumped in, Hargeet jumped in, Mav jumped in. It was just basically just a party, a celebration, and it was incredibly long. And yeah, Jez hadn't done any timestamps, because Jez forgets. Jez is very forgetful about stuff. I got to remind him of stuff all the time. He's just a very forgetful person.
Wow, you just throwing me under the bus today. But
I mean, you are the person who does the timestamps.
oh, you could do the timestamps if you want. There's nothing stopping you, man.
I'm hosting the show. I'm looking at things. I got things moving. I can't do the timestamps. I'm sorry. Unless somebody wants to do the timestamps, and I'll just pay them to do it.
That's all good.
Oh,
we should we should do that. If someone listens to the show all the way through every week to do the timestamps.
Every single week, listen to the show. All the topic changes. Yeah, if you want to do that, I could definitely pay somebody to actually have better timestamps for people, for sure. Just let me know. But otherwise, you're gonna get Jez's here's 30 minutes of stuff with some of the topics within it. So that's just how it kind of is.
You could just pay ChatGPT to do it, man.
Yeah, they wouldn't. ChatGPT wouldn't do it. But anyways, we have super chat here from Killer Ace. He says, "Do you guys think Xbox will change King's Candy Crush pay to play and Blizzard's Diablo Immortal pay to win microtransactions? The game is banned here because of it."
Well,
I'm gonna say no.
Diablo is not pay to win, so I don't know why you're bringing that up. But
Diablo Immortal?
Oh, Diablo Immortal. Oh yeah, Diablo.
Yeah, he's
Immortal's
talking about.
pay to win.
He's talking about the mobile games.
I don't think so, personally. I think they'll leave them as they are because they are cash cows, and Microsoft can just pass the blame off on the old regime or something. I don't think they'll remove the pay to win from Diablo Immortal because the whole business model is tied up to it now. I've actually spoken to people at Blizzard who say they wish that in the original contract when it was signed that they'd decided to do 2 different SKUs, one for the Chinese market and one for the rest of the world, because some markets literally expect pay to win. They literally expect that. They literally expect the gambling aspect, and they expect that when you do pay for these gambling stuff, that it does result in a power gain. They expect that, but it's kind of set in stone now, so I can't see it changing dramatically. But hey, who knows? We literally don't really know how all this stuff's going to play out. I'm like I said to Rand, I'm nervous about it, man. I'm nervous about it. And yeah, Blizzard's not doing particularly great, and They probably need a bit more investment and stuff to get back to where they were. But is Microsoft going to be willing to invest even more? Is Microsoft even aware of the nuances involved in the state of Blizzard currently and all that kind of stuff? It's it's going to be an interesting few years. And it could. I'm just hopeful it doesn't devolve into a be careful what you wish for kind of scenario. But hey, that's just my pessimism talking.
Your British pessimism. Stop it, Jez. Nobody wants to hear that shiz. Nobody wants to hear it.
It's not. I don't think it's even necessarily British pessimism or just Jezimism. You know,
Jezimism.
Jezimism. Yeah.
Anyways, guys, make sure you hit the like button, please, and subscribe
Smash
if
that
you haven't already. Share this out. Let people know we are finally live, and any of the audio issues or whatever we had at the beginning of the show are fixed because Jez doesn't know how to run a show.
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, you do say you want to stream more.
Yeah, but it's easy when it's just my audio levels.
Oh, is it?
Well, I don't get it right because on the thing, I could see the two little bars going up and down, right? And my bar's generally in the yellow bit, but sometimes it randomly goes into the red bit. So I'm guessing that's
peaking.
bad. Yeah, that's peaking. So if I turn it down a little bit, maybe it won't peak as much. Testing. I don't know. We'll leave it like that. Maybe that's too quiet now, though. I don't know. How are you supposed to tell? It's like you have to be psychic or something.
Gotta be watchful, bro. Anyways, hit the like button, subscribe. The Don CJG says, praying for Brad Sams as a guest. Have a good show, my guys. My favorite time of the week. We gotta get Brad Sams on at some point.
Yeah, Brad's an OG.
Yeah. And we have Anonymous Asher, newest member of the channel. Appreciate you. Enjoy the emotes and all that stuff. But yeah, Brad Sams is not the guest for next week or next month. But it is one of the most requested people to be on Xbox 2. It's definitely going to be a very interesting show whenever that does happen. Hopefully we can deliver that earlier in the month next month and go from there. But yeah, we're always looking at like, okay, what do the Patreons want and what we think would actually be a really good, interesting discussion, and this definitely for sure would be. Anyways, we since because it's been really hectic the past like couple weeks here, right? We did the show on Tuesday, right? We did the show on Friday, and it was a lot of fun, right? Like Tuesday was just basically FTC lost, right? We were talking about that. You know, I gave my whole little speech about, with all the swears about, hey, people there saying like, oh, you just came from nowhere. You know the speech I was talking about, right, Jez?
Yeah.
Right. And Friday was such like here's all these people, all of our friends in here. We're just gonna have a good time. They really talk about the games I've been playing recently. So we're gonna talk about that in just a minute. But Daniel says, you think those PS5 Pro rumors are true? Love the show and hope my boss is not in the chat. Yeah. Jez probably hopes his boss is in the chat. Who is your boss anyways?
Dan Rubino.
Dan Rubino. I did see on Twitter, Luca put out a tweet, the Ashton Luca. It was basically like, has someone ever snitched on you for a tweet? And you were like, yes, a coworker has snitched on me. What's the story behind that? Did you get snitched on, bro? Was someone like, hey, Jez is actually doing a podcast instead of working?
No.
Like, what sort of snitching are we talking about here?
I tweeted something like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I tweeted something like it was about a British politician, and I tweeted something like, I hope he gets COVID or something. It was just some dumb joke about the guy getting COVID because he didn't believe in COVID or something. And then someone in my company said to Dan, like, oh my God, he's wishing death on a major politician or some bullshit like that. And I was like, come the fuck on. So, it was so dumb. But yeah, that's the dumb snitching story, I guess. But,
So, I don't know if you saw today, Jez, but Tom Henderson dropped some interesting information about the PS5 Pro.
He did, and not on his own blog, which confused me. But yeah.
Well, isn't it his own website though? I thought it's like another website he runs. No,
I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know.
maybe it is. Maybe he's
He's cheating on his website with someone else.
So we basically said that the PS5 Pros are started working on in 2022. That they'll be going out to devs later this year for a launch, and later in 2024. Basically, that they it's going to have accelerated ray tracing. Like let me bring up some of the stuff because I can't remember some of it offhand. Like it's going to have an
4K 60 standard,
an 8K mode, which is ridiculous. Anybody believes that the PS5 Pro is gonna run games at 8K? I have a bridge to sell you. That ain't gonna happen. Let's see here.
That's what he said, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, but I'm just saying it may be what they're going to sell it to you, but that's dude. They don't run games at 8K on PC with all the power they have. They're not going to run games at 8K on a PS5 Pro. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Let's see, Trinity. So it's called like Project Trinity. He says that Trinity will have 30 WGP, whatever that means, and 18,000 MTS of memory. As for the console's performance targets, and as to be expected, the Pro will be targeting improved and consistent FPS at 4K resolution, so 4K 60 instead of like 4K 30, and a new performance mode for 8K resolution and accelerated ray tracing. So of course, that brought up the discussion of, not whether or not this thing exists, because I think it does. I think Tom has very good sources, as he's proven recently, or always. He talked about the Q Lite, the handheld, that he was the only one talking about it, and it turned out to be true. We haven't seen the Slim yet, but, we're going to give Tom the benefit of the doubt, because PlayStation always tends to do a Slim. So let's assume
I think even Microsoft confirmed the Slim, didn't they?
Even the Microsoft sort of, yeah, they did confirm the Slim in their court documents and stuff. So we'll assume that to be true. So Tom's got pretty good sources. Seems like this is most likely going to be a reality, that end of next year you're going to be able to buy a PS5 Pro to play games at 8K, or at least you hope you'll be able to play games at 8K. There are even TVs that are like, do they even sell 8K televisions at a decent price point yet?
Not at a decent price point, but they do exist.
They do. I know they exist, but I know they're super expensive because there's virtually zero 8K content available. Yes.
Yes.
Right. So I just don't see, number one, those consoles being able to do 8K, let alone the developers wanting to push 8K. Well, but either way, whatever.
Isn't the Xbox Series X and PS5 certified for 8K technically?
I think maybe, I don't know. I think people, it wasn't like 8K on the chip or something. I remember people freaking out about that. But anyways, so we have the PS5 Pro, it's happening, and this always brings up the discussion about mid-gen Xbox, right? Phil was asked about that recently, and he basically said they don't see their feedback that they've heard from fans is that one isn't needed. And in fact, when we've run polls and we've talked about this topic before, it seems to be split. Even among the hardcore, I consider anybody that listens to the show pretty damn hardcore. And personally, I would want a mid-gen refresh. I know it doesn't seem like we need one. I know it sort of seems like this is really the first year of next-gen, quote-unquote, where the previous years were kind of cross-gen games. A lot of people feel that these consoles aren't getting... they're not getting pushed. We're not seeing the full potential of the Xbox Series X or the PS5. And hell, not even the full potential of the Series S, right? And now you're telling me that there's going to be a PS5 Pro next year, which, I'm all for better frame rates in games. Like, we've seen recent examples of games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which had one of the worst performance modes there ever has been in a game. Final Fantasy 16 performance mode was not great. We've seen next-gen games, quote-unquote, like Redfall and Plague's Tale Requiem and Gotham Knights all launch at 30 frames, instead of having even a 60 FPS performance mode. So maybe A Pro could help along those ways, maybe get a performance mode in games that don't have them, because that's when we started seeing performance mode. Last gen, everything was sort of 30. Some games were 60, but we started seeing your quality mode and your performance mode right around the time the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X started coming out. And people got really accustomed to it. I know I did. I was like, I want everything in 60 frames. And I thought this generation was going to deliver on that promise of, hey, the difference between the Xbox Series X and the Xbox One generation was going to be the feel of games, because they were going to be targeting 60 frames, which feels a lot better, a lot smoother than 30 frames does. And there's been talk recently, not recently, but the Digital Foundry guys have talked about, like, maybe developers will start making games at just 30 again and really push the graphical fidelity of their games and all the different effects that they can push with Unreal Engine 5 to make games look better on your 4K television, instead of providing that smooth gameplay that 60 FPS is known for. And I'm very much of the opinion I at least want the choice. I want 60 FPS, right? So if PlayStation's putting out another console next year, giving people the option of, like, hey, you can just get regular PS5 and it's no slouch. Or if you got the extra money, and if you are someone who plays PlayStation every single day and you want the extra horsepower, then there's that option for you. So when you look at it from the Xbox perspective, you know, Xbox, they're all about options, Jez. How many times have we heard it from Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and everybody at Xbox that it's about options? Even when we're going to talk about later about the Xbox Game Pass core stuff, it's about options, right? It's like, oh, we got options for you. Different tiers, different things you can choose from. At Xbox, we love options. And it's like, hey, you don't want to spend too much money. You just want an entry point in next gen. Oh, we have the option for you. It's Xbox Series S. Oh, but if you want, you know, the creme de la creme, the powerful system, we got that for you too. And it's the Xbox Series X. Hey, if you don't even want the console, but you still want to play other games and you have a really good PC, you can play it there. Hey, if you don't even want the console or PC, you want to play it on the cloud, we got you covered. Like, Microsoft's all about options, except for mobile. We're like a handheld. Although they partner with, like, ROG Ally and stuff, so I guess there's options there. So, do you think Microsoft will give people the option, whether it's next year or whether it's the year after, of a upgraded, you know, I don't know what you would call it, an Xbox Series X2 or an Xbox Series XL, a mid-gen refresh, if you will, of the Series X console? A better performing console?
I mean, the way they've talked about it, it doesn't seem like that's on the cards. You know, the way Phil, I can't remember what Phil's exact quote was, but you did mention it, right?
It's like the feedback. The feedback they've heard is like people don't want it, or there's no need for it, or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
something like that.
I mean, you would assume that's what you would say, because you're not going to come out and confirm a new console that's 2 years away, right? So,
yeah, I don't think they'll do it.
You don't think so? You think is that a mistake? You think if they don't, is that a problem?
I mean, we have to assume a PS5 Pro would be pretty much more expensive, right? And probably,
I mean, do we? Because I don't know how Tom is reporting this, but there's some speculation that the PS5, the Slim, is going to take the price point of the Pro, take the price point of the digital, which is $399. So the PS5 will come in at $399, which is essentially getting a $100 reduction in price. And then when the PS5 Pro comes out next year, it would slide into that $500 slot that is currently occupied by the PS5. So then you would have the regular PS5 at $400, and then the PS5 Pro at $500. At least that's what some people think. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Personally, the PS5 sells so well that I don't see why Sony would drop the console price $100 when it's selling as fast and as quickly.
Well, that's exactly it, right?
I mean, you never know. Maybe that's in their plans, because they are planning on selling more PlayStations, I believe, that following year than they ever have in the history. They're planning on selling more consoles in 1 year than has ever been sold before in 1 year. So maybe a price drop is included. I don't know, but if you're selling the PS5 Pro at the same price as the Xbox Series X, potentially,
I mean, let's assume I'm gonna straight up assume that it's not the same price as the current PS5. I'm assuming it's more expensive, right? At least $50 to $100. But even if it's not more expensive, at the end of the day, you're pretty much going to be cannibalizing your existing install base, because I don't know, like, if people haven't already rushed out to buy a PlayStation 5, most of the people that are going to be buying the PS5 Pro are existing PS5 users, I kind of feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I don't see how this necessarily hurts Xbox, potentially. Especially if Xbox is going to focus so much on differentiation in terms of value. In terms of value for money and kind of that kind of stuff. But increasingly, it just feels like, you know, users don't really... The price consciousness of console gaming seems to have been eroded. And I think, like, the sort of markets that we often talk about, like kids and, you know, where the kids games and what about the kids, can't they get cheaper access with Xbox Game Pass and stuff, I kind of feel like that market's not available to Xbox anymore. I kind of feel like that market's taken over by mobile and Roblox and stuff now, and Fortnite on iPad and stuff like that. It's kind of iPad has kind of taken that market, like your iPads and tablets and stuff like that, and mobile phones and like even lower end laptops and stuff like that. And I very much think like console is struggling to find users amongst the youngsters, you know, or desirability amongst youngsters, when all the games kind of chase our generation, the 18 plus, the mature gamer, the disposable income gamer and stuff like that. So I kind of feel like PS5 is really for the existing audience they've got, not for a new audience. And it's kind of like you said, they're already selling PS5s constantly anyway. So it is a bit of a weird strategy. You know, even Nintendo's like, we don't need to make a new Switch for like...
Well, they are making a new Switch.
I mean, they are now, but after how long? You know,
but what do you mean after how long? A typical 6-year stretch. It came out in 2017. It's been 6 years this year. I bet you there's a new one next year. It's 7 years. That's a typical length of a generation.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, they straddled 2 generations because they came out pretty underpowered as it was. You know,
sure, but they did that because the Wii U was such an abject failure. One of the biggest failures.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter at the end of the day, is what I'm saying. Is that the content matters. And if Microsoft is going to have the high quality content, I don't think they need a pro version of their console to sell that vision. But I do know that a lot of people who were saying on this, you know, maybe even in our poll, that they don't care, they don't want a mid-gen upgrade. If Sony does it, people will be upset with Xbox for not doing it.
We have a super chat here from Rich from the 401 who says, if the PS5 Pro comes out and Xbox doesn't respond with an upgraded X, then PS5 will become my preferred third-party machine. I really hope Xbox responds. Because I guess that would be where the rubber hits the road, essentially, is, you know, right now you have a bunch of Digital Foundry faces off, right? Xbox Series X versus the PS5. And some of people's disappointment regarding the Series X is the fact that it doesn't win every single face-off. Every single time, you know, with frames to spare, right? People talked about the Xbox Series X as this, you know, in their marketing, in the lead up to the launch, they talked about the Series X as the monster that eats monsters for breakfast. You remember that?
Yeah.
They talked about that, and everybody thought like, oh, 12 teraflops versus 10.4 or whatever it is, and that Xbox would be essentially outperforming the PlayStation 5 in every game. And while it does outperform it in some games, or maybe in some modes, it's not exactly what was promised, right? RDNA 2, like, oh, we waited for this, and, you know, the velocity architecture and all these sort of things that Xbox touted. And in reality, when you look at it between PlayStation and Xbox, what you have is roughly the same resolution and roughly the same frame rate, right? Yeah. There's really no big wide swings, whatever. But if you had a PS5 Pro that was targeting 8K in a 8K mode and was targeting, hey, accelerated ray tracing, because ray tracing is one of like the biggest disappointments of these consoles. But if like, hey, they did it better, maybe it actually becomes a better thing. And then, better frame rates at 4K, where you wouldn't have these problems like you see with Jedi Survivor or Final Fantasy 16. Then virtually every third-party game that comes out is better on PlayStation. Not only that, Jez, Call of Duty will be better on PlayStation. Because if you assume Xbox isn't doing a mid-gen upgrade, then
Well, I mean, Microsoft.
Call of Duty the best version of Call of Duty will essentially be on the upgraded PlayStation 5.
I mean, if they get the dev kits.
I mean, if they're gonna get the dev kits, because that's another topic for later. That Sony bent the knee. So there's an interesting wrinkle in the whole situation, is that, you know, Sony was complaining to regulators about, oh my god, if we lost Call of Duty, or oh, there could be glitches, and what if Xbox had the better version? What if we lost the Digital Foundry face-off? You know, Call of Duty gamers are so smart. And then, well, you could up in a scenario where Call of Duty is just better on PlayStation 5 Pro because, well, there is no mid-gen Xbox. Or, I don't know, do they intentionally nerf the PS5 Pro version so it's not any better than the PS5 version because of parity stuff? I don't know how that would play out, but it's certainly an interesting wrinkle into all of this. Now, you think they won't do it. I'm not too sure. Because I could see why they wouldn't want to do it. 3 consoles that they have to support, the Series S, the Series X, and then the Series X XL, or whatever they want to call it. I'm sure developers don't want that. I'm sure because developers right now don't even want to support the Series S. It's all just extra work, and who wants to do any extra work, right? So I'm sure developers probably don't even really want to do a PS5 Pro. They probably just want to do one version and call it a day. And Xbox is like, well, we already have the Series S and the X, and if we do another one, that's 3 versions of a game that we demand developers and publishers support. That's a lot of extra work potentially, so maybe that factors into the decision. You know, maybe they just don't want to spend the R&D on it, and they're perfectly happy riding out the gen with the Series X or a Series S. I don't really know, but I do know, like, when it comes to the hardcore gaming circle, they definitely will lose out. Some people, like Rich, will decide to buy third-party games on that other platform because they potentially offers a better experience. I don't know how many people that are like that are like, hey, I have both systems, or I have a Series X and I buy everything here because it's supposedly the best one, but now I'm going to buy everything on the PS5 Pro. Maybe that's a small segment of gamers that it really doesn't matter, or maybe it's a large segment. I don't really know.
I think I really don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to do it.
Really don't think so. Okay.
I think Phil's comments are literally hinting at that.
Yeah. But I don't think so, because of course he would say that. He's not going to come out and say, yeah, we're doing an Xbox mid-gen upgrade a couple years down the road. You're never going to admit to that.
Nah.
I'm just saying, if I was asked that question, that's the answer I would give. Feedback. Hey, the feedback we're currently getting, yeah, it shows that we don't want it. But hey, that feedback could change in 2 years. I don't know.
Nah.
But this could be another thing where fans of the console are just would feel like disappointed, like, oh, you're not giving us the same, because people already sort of feel a certain way about how the console UI is and how it hasn't really changed much. So there are some people upset about like the console Game Pass price increase versus PC, which didn't get increased. So there's already some people that view, hey, you're not really treating console players with the same respect as you used to. And this would be another kind of thing where people would look at it and be like, well, Sony's doing this for their customers. Why aren't you doing this for your console customers? It would be another example of people saying that Microsoft doesn't care about their console customer, which they've consistently said are their best customers, or at least the ones that are most have the most skin in the game, the most money, right? That spend the most. So I don't know. I don't know what Xbox is going to do. I could see Jez being completely right and them being like, we can't have 3 systems. It's not worth it. And let's just get to next gen. when we're going to be, rolling with all these IPs and all these acquisitions and stuff. So it's interesting discussion. I don't know. Maybe somebody just gets some documents. Maybe Tom stumbles across some Xbox stuff. I don't know. Or maybe Special Nick can come out here and go up 5-0 on Jez by saying there is a mid-gen refresh, and like you never know. You never know how things play out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they don't do a mid-gen upgrade, I would presume that they've got a strategy in place for the next gen, which is probably going to be like, we've really got to come out the gate swinging. We've really got to be like, okay, here's all these new IP, these new games, these nostalgic things from Activision, and, the benefits of Call of Duty on Xbox, if there are any, marketing deal lining up and all that kind of stuff. Xbox is going to change fundamentally forever this year. It's the Activision stuff's already having an impact. Microsoft worked to repair the servers on the 360 backwards compatible versions of Call of Duty.
Is that confirmed that it was Microsoft that fixed that and not Activision?
Yes. Well, I'm pretty much confirming that it was Microsoft.
Oh, you're pretty much confirming it. Okay, yeah. Microsoft. So let me ask you.
There was a collaboration between the two, but it's in preparation. It's in preparation for.
But let me ask. So, do you think if this deal wasn't happening, like if they never wanted to acquire him, would this have happened? Would they have went back and fixed this, or is it because they are fixing it? Or is it because they are acquiring them?
Do you really think Activision wants people playing the old Call of Duty now?
No, I don't. I don't think that. I don't think they want people playing the old CODs at all. Yes.
Yeah, you got to think about this logically. I was saying this on Twitter, like Microsoft was the ones who instigated this. And then loads of people on Twitter were like, oh, there's no evidence of that. Activision probably could have done it by themselves. Bullshit. You really think Activision wants people playing the microtransactionless version of World at War? Do you really think they want people playing that? There's no battle pass attached to that. There's no skins attached to that. They do not want people playing the old versions of those games. I mean, we've seen this repeatedly in the industry where developers try to restrict access to the older versions of their current games. Rovio pissed off its fan base by removing the classic version of Angry Birds because they wanted people on the microtransaction modern versions of Angry Birds, So this is completely in preparation for Call of Duty's entrance into Game Pass. And they're going to start with those classic games because they don't have deals attached to them and stuff like that. And also, these are the versions that you're going to get on Nintendo Switch because, I don't think the Nintendo Switch out of the box will be able to run the modern versions of Call of Duty without a significant amount of work. But these more classic versions will probably handle a port much more easily. And if you're going to port those games to Nintendo Switch and give them cross-play, presumably, it's going to be Microsoft setting that kind of stuff up. And Microsoft already has a relationship with Nintendo, and a tech stack for cross-play with Nintendo Switch, for games like Minecraft Dungeons and stuff like that. So, yeah, of course, it was Microsoft who set this plan in motion. And, this is just like the first salvo. Once the deal closes, you're probably going to see a number of rapid-fire changes. You're probably going to say, okay, here's all the classic Call of Duties on Xbox Game Pass, and then you're going to see Diablo probably come to Game Pass sooner than expected, probably as well. You're going to see all these games starting to hit Game Pass, and it's going to fundamentally change a lot of things about how we sort of view Xbox and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. It's it's nerve-wracking in a way. How it's all going to go down, how it's going to be perceived, and how it's going to change Xbox, how it's going to change Blizzard, how it could change Battle.net, and how it could change Microsoft's mentality about, do they even need a console? Are they just going to be like, well, we could just Tencent it and just focus on PC and mobile? That's what Tencent does. Tencent doesn't release half of their games on console at all because they really don't even care, and they think, well, we don't want to give the 30% to Sony. Why should we? We don't have to. Our games are that good that we don't need to, So I know Microsoft's not going to have that approach. I'm just saying, it's just an example of the craziness that is on the horizon, and we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of, dude, the fact that they went back and fixed them and you could see the player counts and how many people. Dude, and Kotaku had this headline. It was like more people are playing the 2007 Modern Warfare than playing Halo Infinite. I was like, why you gotta do that? Why you gotta do that? And even like there was another website that was like, oh, Star Wars Outlaws handcrafted levels are way different than Starfield. Like, it's weird that they put these, like, it's always sort of something against Xbox related. It's weird. Like, you could have used, hey, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is more played than virtually, I don't know, probably like almost all multiplayer games. But they had to call out Halo Infinite. Why? Because Halo Infinite's not doing so well, and you can see its numbers on Steam. Or it's like, oh, you know, Starfield's procedural generated content. You know, there's been a lot of back and forth about that, and you know, Star Wars like, no, it's handcrafted, so you take a shot at Starfield. It's very subtle things that you see there. I'm not surprised that people are going back and playing those CODs, right? Because I think some people are sick of the new CODs and like the Battle Pass stuff.
I am sick.
They want to go.
I hate new Call of Duty, man.
You hate new Call of Duty?
You log in and there's just celebrity cameos, streamers I don't give a fuck about, you know, popping up on the screen and all this crap, and it's just like, this is not what I want out of Call of Duty. I just want simple Call of Duty style gunplay, you know, and World at War plays great, still plays great, and it doesn't have all the extra bullshit on top of it, you know. So the fact that these classic games are sort of entering this nostalgia period now, hopefully Activision sits up and takes notice, because there's an opportunity there to have at least one line of Call of Duty games appeal to the sort of fans of the classic experience. I don't know. Maybe the economics ain't there, but without Activision shareholder culture holding Call of Duty back, I'm hoping that Microsoft can rein some of that in, because like, even though Halo Infinite has Battle Pass and stuff, it doesn't have like celebrity cameos as far as I'm aware. Not yet. It doesn't have, you know, some of these other...
New fucking space, bruh. Halo.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Gears of War had celebrity cameos, I guess. Like, they had the Terminator in there and stuff like that. But I don't want that kind of stuff. And maybe I'm just wishfully thinking here, and that Microsoft will, you know, rein some of that stuff in. Maybe they won't. There's not much evidence that they won't, to be fair. I mean, they still do the Battle Pass and stuff like that, and... you know, and they try to make it a little friendly, like you can go back and forward between battle passes and stuff like that, which, you know, a lot of games don't do that. They're like, no, you have to complete the battle pass now or it's gone forever. And that's like that sort of urgency trying to force you to play. Halo Infinite was like, yeah, you could do the battle pass whenever you want. You can switch between them. You know, Microsoft completely missing the point of a battle pass. You know, trying to make you feel that FOMO. You have to complete it. It's kind of funny in a way. But yeah, I'm tired of all this upsell, man. I just miss when games were games, and you know, and honestly, that's probably the best thing that Sony does. That's one of the best things that Sony does. Is Sony exclusives are just games. They don't have any of these battle passes. They don't have any. Huh?
For now.
For now, I mean, they are doing. I mean,
considering all the live service games are coming to launch, and that probably will have battle passes and all the live service stuff.
Well,
but
I was playing God of War on my Asus ROG Ally, and I was just, you know, it was just so pleasant to not have all this extra BS sort of popping out of the menu, or ads, or, you know, a little pop-up saying, oh, there's new items in the shop, you know, and all this crap. You know, I miss when games were games, and I don't know. The industry is going through this sort of like, the industry is going through this kind of this transition period, I think, where the publishers are trying to thread this needle of appealing to Gen Z and Gen Alpha. You know, Gen Alpha is getting old enough to play games now. They're trying to figure out, how do we appeal to those younger generations and also appeal to the 30, 40-year-olds with disposable income, you know. And they're not doing a particularly great job of it here and there, you know. But it's interesting to watch all this play out in some ways.
Well, this is also the stuff with Call of Duty is the competitive advantage that Xbox has with their back compat stuff, right? All these games are all playable on the current Xbox console. It's fixed so you can go play it. It's something that you can't do on PlayStation. You can't go and play Call of Duty Modern Warfare or World at War or Black Ops 2 on your PlayStation 5. And that's, can be seen as a competitive advantage for Xbox in that regard. I saw like those games were basically in the top 7 of like the Xbox most top paid list. I noticed that Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 2 were in the top 50 most played, and so was Exoprimal. I think Exoprimal was number 10, even despite the bad reviews. People were still playing that. But this is before this gen started, people were really like this. The back compat stuff could pay dividends for Xbox, and it has. And it looks like it may even go a little bit further with all the COD stuff, and maybe if they go back and they open up back compat one more time to get a bunch of older Activision games and throw them in there and stuff, because it's not something you can have on PlayStation.
Well, this is one of the differentiations that Xbox has, and I was on Game Mess Mornings on Giant Bomb.
Oh yeah, with Jeff. Only the Grub.
Yeah, I was on Giant Bomb with Jeff Grubb this morning, and we talked about this Call of Duty revival and stuff. And it's just so funny that Kotaku was like chose to spin it in as a negative, and instead of being like, it's really cool that Microsoft bothered to try and preserve these games. They had to spin it in a negative because that's what the shit website does. Mm-hmm. And we were discussing about how Microsoft could position this, and like imagine if you are someone who's kind of our age or a little bit older maybe. Or not as old as you, Rand, but like my age.
Oh, yeah,
he's sort of younger, younger like me. Young and sprightly. So young like me in the 20s or whatever. And you could do an Xbox Series S bundle that is literally like Xbox Series S with Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare 2, and then World at War, and then Black Ops 1. You could do like a four game bundle with an Xbox Series S. Because that could run those games at 60 frames just fine. And then it's like, you could sell that to a whole bunch of people who are just nostalgic about Call of Duty and don't really care about the rest of it, There's a lot of nostalgia that is about to come in to Xbox, a ton of nostalgia and this is one of the things that we've always discussed on the show and beyond is like, Xbox always lacked this nostalgia play. Like, PlayStation has had its nostalgic franchises to play into, but Nintendo is the god of nostalgia. They are the Mac Daddy of nostalgia, and they ride that wave so damn hard, And with Blizzard and Activision, Microsoft has a real shot at tackling that market, Whether it's Skylanders or Guitar Hero and StarCraft and a lot of the games that Phil Spencer's name-checked, those are hints at what their strategy is for closing this deal. It's nostalgia, so yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But I'm really intrigued to see how they put all this stuff into practice and how they use it to try and bring value to Xbox and the console platform in general. It's interesting.
Yeah. We have Sin Vendetta with Super Chat saying, Happy Friday, boys. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Stay cool. Have either of you tried the Ant Stream Arcade with 1,300 games yet?
No, I have not. So Ant Stream Arcade, for those who don't know, is a cloud gaming platform that has lots of classic 80s, 90s era games, like from arcade machines and stuff like that. I haven't tried it myself. Have you tried it, Rand? I believe there's even a couple of PlayStation 1 games in there.
Yeah, I think there's a couple PlayStation 1 games. But yes, 1,300 retro games. You can pay $30 a year or $80 for a lifetime subscription. It's cloud gaming retro stuff. Not for me. I'm not a retro person. I know RGT sort of called me out a little bit. He was like, I didn't see any Xbox channels covering this. And I looked at Rand and Coach channels. Like, we did cover this on the podcast on Friday. So we did talk about it. I didn't even know this thing existed until somebody had mentioned it. But yeah, this isn't something I'm interested in. I don't really care about like retro games like that. and it's not enough to pay $30. I'll say not enough to pay $80. Maybe if it was free, and then there was maybe like a couple of older games that I would maybe like load up for a couple seconds or something. But I'm certainly not going to pay $30.
Are you,
at
Randall?
all.
You're kind of cheap, bro.
I'm not necessarily cheap. I just
You're cheap,
I
bro.
sort of I just
You're
know what I
You're literally
like.
a YouTube billionaire. You won't pay
I'm not.
$30 to a
I
struggling
wish.
cloud company.
Yeah,
Damn.
struggling top
Damn.
company. We have
Damn.
Michael Mooney saying better to just update the Series X and X boxes to newer architecture plus chiplet design. Biggity, member for 4 months, says Phil said the Xbox Series X is the mid-gen refresh. Do you guys believe him? Not really, no. I don't. I think it's just kind of just PR, what he has to say. Scott says the best place to play COD will always be PC. Yeah. I did notice that they're bringing Overwatch to Steam, Jez.
Yeah, I have no idea why they're doing that.
Well, because they're probably going to bring everything to Steam and then shut down Battle.net after Xbox acquires them.
Oh, that's so weird. I don't get that.
You know?
Why would you do that? Like on
don't
Battle.net, you don't have to pay 30%. Do they really think that putting Overwatch on Steam is going to make the game blow up? I would have waited till like they actually had a decent update to have done that. But just putting it on Steam in the middle of a season that no one really cares about just smacks to me of absolute desperation. But whatever.
I mean, they put Modern Warfare 2. They finally came back to Steam. So I mean, that's kind of was already in progress, and so it's like already given up 30% to Steam instead of just being on Battle.net. Right?
I know Steam is huge, but like, it's I don't know.
World of Warcraft coming to Steam.
I can't see that, but it's just weird. Like, do they really think it's gonna change things massively if they bring Overwatch to Steam? I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm seeing some comments about like mid-gen upgrade stuff, and Ted had an interesting thing here where he said, didn't Phil say Xbox will always win in price and power? He didn't say always win, but he basically implied that they would essentially, that was a goal to be leaders in price and power. And well, if they don't do a mid-gen refresh, well, then they kind of lost on power. But maybe, I don't know, maybe they think that power is not important. I don't know. I mean, they look at the Nintendo Switch and be like, power is not important. But then I would say, yeah, because Nintendo Switch offers something that neither of the consoles do, and that's this hybrid situation where you can take games on the go, or you can plug it into the TV. And let's be honest, Nintendo exclusives are way more in demand than anybody's else's exclusives. People literally buy Nintendo products to get Nintendo games. The vast majority of people who buy Xbox and PlayStation don't buy them to get Xbox or PlayStation exclusives. Even though that's like what the fanboys would have you believe on both sides, that people buy an Xbox to play Halo and people buy a PlayStation to play Spider-Man or God of War. It's not the case. It's been proven generation after generation. People buy those systems to play the other games, to play the Maddens and the FIFAs and the Grand Theft Autos and the Call of Duties and stuff.
Oh, you can't call it FIFA anymore, Rand. It's now EA
it's
Sports FC.
EFC, right? So,
like
that's just kind of how it is. But people buy Nintendos to play Mario and Zelda and stuff. So there's a big difference between, the why people buy the consoles for each one. JST says, just bring it, says, can't they do an update to overstock the Series X? To overclock the Series X?
I don't
think so.
I mean, overclocking implies more electricity, doesn't it?
I don't know, but I don't think that's something they can do.
Yeah,
do you
more
remember
electricity, more heat?
Do you remember the rumors during the Xbox One gen about how Xbox One had a hidden secret GPU in the in like the power brick or whatever, that it was just Microsoft was just waiting for a moment to just flick the switch and turn on the second GPU? People always come up with kind of weird things like that.
I feel bad for that guy, man.
I remember I was in a party with Phil one day and I mentioned that to Phil. I'm like, so when are you guys going to turn on the second hidden GPU? And Phil started laughing. He was just like, oh yeah, You know, you would think if that was actually true, why would we have waited all this time? Why wouldn't we have turned it on before? You know, but logic. Some people just can't think that way. Fantas says Sony would probably add any PS5 Pro sales to PS5 sales to inflate sales to convince the fan base and consumers they're winning. Well, I mean, that's kind of what always happens, right? It's like, how many PS5s did you sell, or how many PS4s did you sell? Well, it's PS4s and PS4 Pros. Just like the same thing with Xbox. How many Xboxes did you sell? It's Xbox One, it's Xbox One S, it's Xbox One X, right? They're just taking the number of consoles that they've sold. And I don't really think it's to convince the fan base, and well, it might be to convince consumers they're winning, because consumers are more likely to buy a product they know is going to have long-term support and is seen as the winner. But, it's like, hey, we offer... Here's the PS5. These are how many PS5s we sold, and that includes the sales of the PS5 Pro. I mean, it's just kind of what it is. It wouldn't obviously be the install base, and maybe the developers would know the splits, or I guess the install base would sort of be like their monthly active users, kind of in a way.
Yeah.
Where Sony reports like, hey, we had 115 million monthly active users, or or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, company's been doing that forever. Maybe it's to inflate their sales, but I mean, it's really just. But I don't think I don't think they broke down the sales between PS4 and PS4 Pro. I don't think they ever broke down what one sold versus the other. And I doubt they would do the same thing here. It would all just be a combination of them. A Dead Planet says, how twisted would it be if in 2024 PS5 has the power, but Xbox has the games? Feels like the deeper we're getting into this gen, the better for Xbox it'll be. I mean, hey, I'd be all for it. Games are what's really important, right? Right now for 2024, we have Hellblade 2 Avowed and Towerborn. Matt Booty did say that there's unannounced games for 2024. Who knows what they could be? Could it be Forza Horizon 6? Because it'd be 3 years next year. Could there be a Bethesda game? I don't know. There could be other games. And yeah, Xbox has a lot more games coming in the future. Like, there's a new Gears coming, right? There's going to be Fable, Everwild, State of Decay 3. We know id's working on stuff. So yeah, the games are all coming. Plus, whatever games they'll eventually get from Activision and Blizzard. But it's not like,
Odyssey.
Yeah, what do you think Odyssey is going to launch? Next year?
Yes.
Year after?
I think Odyssey is 2024.
Yeah, Xbox exclusive is 2, baby.
And I think it's going to be announced at BlizzCon 2023. And I think it's going to be multi-platform.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
You think I'm wrong? Well, we'll see. If I'm right, you have to eat a one-chip challenge.
I don't feel that.
Come on,
that,
bro. Come on, bro.
Into it. We have Big Afroman says, Colin was just on Planet Xbox talk about ABK. Would you guys ever have him on? He said people just need to ask, and he'll be on almost every show. I mean, yeah, he's, is someone that we would love to have on at some point. I'm sure that conversation would be very, very interesting. So,
yeah, stay tuned.
Yeah. We have Joshua saying the Xbox One reveal was ahead of its time, in my opinion. I disagree with that.
He was right. He was right, man.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. This guy is right. It was ahead of its time.
He's wrong.
Microsoft identified all the trends that were gonna happen. They just executed.
They identified the trends of people wanting to play with their hands.
Well,
in the camera, they identified that trend.
I mean,
not really.
I don't know. Fastest selling accessory of all time.
It doesn't mean anything.
And but not that. I'm talking about the TV stuff, like Mario movies, the $1 billion, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they execute it terribly, but Hollywood's bending over backwards to license video game TV shows now.
Yeah, but it wasn't about that. It was like, oh, their whole pitch was you plug it in the Xbox and this is your base, and that's not exactly how. I mean, you could maybe argue that the digital stuff was like they were a little bit forward thinking, trying to give you digital rights in the vein of physical, or at least turning physical games into digital. but nobody wanted that. Nobody wanted it, like, to basically them to change out, be like, oh, this is how used games work. It was like people just wanted to go buy used games, put it in the system, not have this overly convoluted system. Uh, I think
It was convoluted. So what I'm saying is it was executed badly, but I think
executed poorly.
they identified the trends that were happening pretty damn well.
The thing is, if they would have just let it happen, it would have done it on its own. You didn't need people didn't need to be pushed into getting digital. They were going to get digital regardless.
Yeah, that was the issue. The issue was the execution and the arrogance of telling people what they didn't know they wanted. You know, they should have just eased people into it. But I'm sure they know better now.
Yeah, well, we hope so. Highlander says, will we see major announcements at Gamescom around ABK or new games? I love playing old COD again. You're going to be going to Gamescom this year, right?
Yes, I'm going to Gamescom. Wrangled a hotel out of my parent company, and I am now going to Gamescom. Yes.
Yeah, and well, I mean, Gamescom, they could close ABK before Gamescom, potentially, possibly.
Gamescom's interesting this year because last year's Gamescom was pretty dead. It was awful, actually. There was like very, very small booths. I mean, it was the first one out of the pandemic, right? Very small booths. There was no stuff there. There was nothing to show off. Microsoft, it was the smallest Xbox booth I've ever seen. Like even EGX in the UK, last time I was there, had a bigger Xbox booth. But this year, there's a total 180. They've said they're going to have the biggest booth they've ever had. You know, not just at Gamescom,
and Phil's going too,
but bigger.
I believe.
And yeah, and Phil's going to Gamescom too, which is rare. I don't think I've ever known Phil to have been at Gamescom before. Since I've been, I mean, I know he's obviously been there at some point, but not when I've been there, not when I've been covering Gamescom. Since I started covering Gamescom about 8 years ago, Phil has never been there when I've been there. So it's the first time I'll be there at the same time as Phil. So clearly they've got big plans for it. They're going to show off a lot of stuff, probably. They've probably got announcements to make, I would imagine. I mean, it's a big showing, you know. It's almost like a reintroduction to the Xbox ecosystem for, for people who are sort of lapsed on it over the years. And I think it's also an admission that they need to do better in Europe. But,
yeah, they certainly need to. It's going to be, I don't know. There are some games that they could really still talk about, like Our History Untold or Age of Empires 4 console version. That would probably be Gamescom would be the way to do it.
Age of Mythology.
I mean, if any of the ABK stuff, like if they're closed before then, maybe they could do some stuff at Gamescom, or I don't know. It definitely seems like this year is sort of a bigger year because even like when you look at they came out earlier this week and said that their showcase was their biggest showcase ever with over 92 million views. Fans made this the most watched Xbox show ever. They said that they saw a 38% rise in viewership over last year's show. It became the highest rated and most viewed show for Xbox ever. And they talk about all the games they saw, but they ended the article by saying they're not done, not even close. In August, Xbox will be headed to Gamescom in Germany, and we'll be setting up our biggest ever booth to show off the incredible games we have coming too. I've never seen Xbox sort of do this. Like, we're, essentially a month after their showcase, they kind of talk about their showcase again. But I mean, I guess like when you're trying to position it as like this is our biggest ever, which
they had a great showcase.
The show was damn good. The show was damn good. You know, you look at public perception was really high. From the Jeff Keighley's. I'm not surprised it's their highest rated one ever. People definitely seem excited about Xbox again, about the games that they saw, about the future that's been laid out. And then you had the ABK stuff on top of it, because it was kind of a specter back in June, right? It was kind of like, is it really going to happen? The CMA blocked it. Everybody, well, clearly I think the FTC thought Microsoft would walk away, but they didn't. And now it's like, oh man, they actually gonna get ABK? Because you always said, you said if they didn't get ABK, there might be some issues or it would accelerate their stuff. But now it looks like they're gonna get it, which catapults Xbox's position into the stratosphere. You have all these new IPs and all these like they're gonna Halo and Gears and Call of Duty and Diablo and World of Warcraft and Doom and Elder Scrolls and like that is a significant, huge IPs that they would now have. When just like a few years ago, it was just Halo, Gears, and Forza. Shout out to the Best Bot Kid Smooth with this Halo, Gears, and Forza. Halo, Gears, and Forza. Halo, Gears, and Forza. It was just Halo, Gears, and Forza. That's all. That's what everybody would always say about Xbox. It's like you don't give us anything other than this. And now you add all these other huge franchises. So it's like people are looking at Xbox a little bit differently than they had in the past. So I'm not surprised Microsoft wants to continue to like put it out there that we're on the come up. We're doing great. We're doing big things. And hopefully that continues with Gamescom and maybe they have some other cool game announcements or whatever. I know you're going. I see some other people from the community going. Boxenberger and Wandering Dutch, and I think Gaz is even going. Oh man, yeah. Gaz and Jez meeting up. Ooh.
Yeah, Clobrill's going, I think.
Clobrill's going because I think he lives around there. So, that's like a month from now. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. We have Joe Repko, aka Flame, member for 25 months. Good afternoon, fellas. My heart sank knowing Microsoft wanted to accommodate whatever the CMA wanted. Seemed like they just wanted to finish the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite nervous about that as a Brit because I kind of feel like it's going to lead to UK consumers getting screwed over, even though the CMA's job is to make things better for UK consumers. I kind of feel like the opposite's going to happen. They're going to force Microsoft to divest something that'll lead to a worse provision of service because they're absolute complete morons. But we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. I think even if they do force Microsoft to be like, okay, well, you've got to supply xCloud through Everything Everywhere or BT or something like that, I think it will eventually revert back to Microsoft in the end, after a few years. But I don't think what's going to happen is going to be too big of a deal, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's the UK establishment for you. They're all idiots, overpaid morons, and terrible at their job. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have Hargeet Chani. He says, I actually like to reveal the Xbox One. I wanted what they were offering. Being able to share digitally would have been awesome. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too. That's why I started blogging. I started blogging because I like that shit so much. I was like, yeah.
The thing is, though, there's nothing preventing them from being able to share digitally now. Like, I know people like, the family plan and stuff and the sharing digitally, but what's to stop them from doing that from when they originally announced it to right now? Nothing. It's just that they don't want to do it. Or, third parties wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, like, it needs the collaboration of all the third parties, Mm-hmm. And Steam is in a position where they can dictate that. And they're like, well, look, if you want to put your stuff on Steam, you have to accept our family sharing plan thingamabob, which Steam has, which is great, by the way, and which I do use. It's hilarious, because Steam has all this stuff that console gamers apparently didn't want, and then Steam users love it. I have Steam family sharing, I share my entire library with, like, a bunch of family members, and it's great, It's so convenient, and, but yeah, console gamers didn't want it. They cried like little bitches, and we had YouTubers like, oh my god, Microsoft's so mean. Microsoft's so mean. Wants to force people to share their games digitally. Come the fuck on, man. That's why I started blogging, man. I started blogging because all that fake outrage really pissed me off, and it still pisses me off to this day. Yeah, I wanted Xbox to be more like Steam.
Yeah, well, when your competitor comes out and says, "Hey, we're keeping everything the same and we're $100 cheaper," yeah. Not a good look. I mean, what did you expect to happen?
Oh well.
People are already looking at the DRM strat. Even if it was forward thinking, Connect was Alexa. Like everybody has Alexas or Siris in their house, or look at the digital stuff and all these sort of things that eventually sort of came true, but it sort of kind of seemed draconian from Xbox at the time because they were like, "Oh, the way that always worked. By the way, we're not doing this. We're changing things." And then the competitor was just like, no, we're not changing anything. And then they made fun of Xbox. The best console war thing ever, with that little 5-second video of here's how you share games on PlayStation.
It was genius.
Just so genius. And never let it be said that these companies don't engage in console war. They do all the time. You can go back and see, you know, when PlayStation was talking about how 1080p makes you a better gamer, it was because Xbox couldn't do 1080p. They were doing 900p, right? They always will look for a way to get up on their competition, and they'll use the console war when it fits them. And when it doesn't fit them, they decry it, being like, we hate console wars. Yeah, but you did at one point when it served your interests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Klein says Quake 2 remake announcement at QuakeCon, or Quake 2 remake announcement and QuakeCon. Would love that. I mean,
Quake
like
2.
That's the rumor. Would be making.
That's the rumor.
Hey, I thought you said they're making Hexen.
That's just my belief based on
Your
Phil's
belief.
shirt. Yeah. I mean,
based on the T-shirt.
Phil's shirt is pretty telling, I would have thought, but I mean, we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Kendrick Starr, Kinect was before Echo Ring. Xbox was ahead of its time. Jez said that's true, but what good is it being ahead of its time when consumers don't want it, though? Face. PS5 Pro seems real. Codename Trinity, now November 2024 release. Tom Henderson released some more info on it. Have you heard anything about an Xbox Series Pro, Jez, or Codenames? We talked about that earlier, Face, but I think, Jez, you would say you have not heard, right? Anything about Codenames or anything?
I don't think they're doing it. Straight up. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah. Jez doesn't think it's happening, so there you go. There you go. So what was I gonna say? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, so talk about well, I guess we'll just talk about PlayStation bending the knee, shall we? Because I think we mentioned a little this before during the show, but so the timeline basically is Microsoft won the FTC court case on Tuesday, and we did the podcast, and it was fun. And then they appealed, and they basically went to a judge and was like, "Hey, we need an emergency injunction because Microsoft's going to close this deal so fast it'll make your head spin." And the judge basically threw it out and like, "No," right? And I don't know what's happening with the appeal, but either way, that happened, broke live on Friday, and everybody was like super happy. And then on Sunday, right before the Iron Lords came out, it was reported that Sony and Microsoft signed a new deal. Now, you know what's interesting, that Jez, is that so the FTC thought, for whatever reason, that it was only a matter of time, and it was that Microsoft was going to close the deal because it was what prompted them to start the court case. And then they lost the court case, and then they were like, we need an emergency injunction because they thought it was happening. And the judge, threw it out. And even the gamers lawsuit, those people petitioned the Supreme Court of all places to hear this case. And the Supreme Court threw that out too. They're like, I ain't hearing this crap. But what ended up happening was Microsoft didn't close.
No.
And it seemed like maybe they were never going to close because they weren't going to close over the CMA, because it seemed like they had been negotiating with the CMA for quite some time about some concessions or a restructuring of the deal. They even went and they had this meeting before the CAT, and and basically it was like they wanted to stop the appeal or whatever to go work on the stuff, and they're like, okay. So now they had to extend the deal. Activision and Microsoft has extended the deal to, I believe, like October 15th, an extra 3 months, because the deal's expiration date was July 18th. So now they get some extra time. And I think if the deal doesn't close by certain milestones, then the price goes up to like $3.5 billion and $4 billion if it's not done by October 15th.
Yeah.
So did FTC fall for like Microsoft's trap because they seemed like this was inevitable. Because like people were waiting on Monday for Xbox and Microsoft to close the deal, and they never did. And it became pretty apparent that they weren't going to, that they weren't going to close over the CMA because they were negotiating with them. But the FTC sure thought that all this was inevitable, like it was going to happen ASAP,
Yeah.
and it never did. So did they get played, Jez? Did the FTC and Lena Khan get played?
I think they did get played. And there was actually some speculation from some, I can't remember which analyst or media outlet said this, but there was some speculation out there that this was their ploy. You know, it was at the time it seemed like, oh come on, that's impossible. But now it kind of feels like, well, maybe it was. Brad Smith's a lawyer. You know, people at Microsoft has described Brad Smith to me that he should have been a politician, but he's Microsoft. He doesn't want to be a politician for anyone else but Microsoft, and he's very, very good at his job, supposedly, and I think like it's really important to Microsoft to get this deal over the line with as much legitimacy as possible. It's the biggest tech deal in history. You know, it's one of the biggest deals in history. $75 billion on the line. You know, it's a hell of a lot of money, and I think they're really, really eager to do this in a way that's as above board as possible. I think they would go down the route of trying to force it through if it push came to shove, but I think they much prefer the route of having it go through cleaner, with the different regulators agreeing to the terms and having compromise where necessary and stuff like that. They're really eager to do it that way, so there's just no question about the legitimacy of it down the line or whenever, and that, you know, people can't use it as an example of, you know, why the law needs to be changed or something like that. They don't want to be seen as this being a bad thing, because there is a huge amount of public perception tied to this. If Microsoft does this deal and then screws it up in some way, you know, screws it up for Call of Duty players or, you know, World of Warcraft players, or, you know, and creates a backlash in some way, it's gonna become a huge example of why big tech bad and why big tech acquisitions bad, you know. So I think Microsoft really wants to manage the public perception of this, and having the deal go through legitimately, quote unquote, is probably really important to them. But yeah, it does seem like they played the FTC to some degree, and I guess the CMA to a lesser degree, because the CMA is bending the knee as well now. So yeah.
Well, you think, you know, because is it possible the CMA gets this new thing and still block it? I mean, I don't know.
I think it's definitely possible, you know. But some people have speculated that the CMA agreed to come back to the drawing board unexpectedly, because Microsoft was saying the whole time, we want to renegotiate some of this stuff. And the CMA was like, nah.
Yeah, the CMA really wasn't like working with them, just like the FTC wasn't. Yeah,
they were totally not receptive to it. And now the CMA has been on Sky News the other day, or today, or yesterday, or something recently, and they were like, "Oh, Microsoft hasn't even told us their proposal yet." And it's kind of like, really, you're really trying to tell me that you have no inkling of what the proposal is, when only a few weeks ago you were not willing to listen to any of their proposals at all. What's changed other than the FTC losing, which has no jurisdiction over the CMA whatsoever? So why would that impact your thought processes? There's stuff going on behind the scenes that we're just not privy to right now. The CMA wants to save face, and it has become political in the UK because of the cost of living crisis. And the UK has this insane inflation rate, 16% or something to that order. And you know, the CMA could be seen as contributing to this by not giving customers a way of getting some of these games early. And that's certainly how I've been writing about it when I've been writing about the CMA and their bullshit. So, you know, there is a political angle to this. And we've seen senior figures in the government come out and criticize the CMA and say like, think about your responsibilities, not just your politics and stuff like that. Is essentially what one of them said, and it's all weird and political. So I don't know how much longer it's going to take. Michael Pachter said he expects the deal to close in August. That seems like a logical timeline to me. And Michael Pachter, people always troll Michael Pachter for his predictions not being on the money.
Yeah.
I mean, his predictions on this were pretty on the money from what I understand. So yeah,
I see someone trying to imitate you in the chat with your name and your picture, so I just sent him to the Shadow Realm.
Oh, nice, good job.
Name was Jezors. Yeah, I really do think they played the FTC. I don't know if you saw the thing where now the FTC put their administrative hearing that they were scheduled for August 2nd on hold, or at least paused, or at least stopped, or whatever. But that's, I think, just a delay tactic because nobody really knows what the FTC is going to do. I think working it out with the regulators is probably for the best, because who knows what crazy stuff would have happened if they decided to close over the CMA and essentially
make Microsoft look like the hostile party.
Yeah, and then like anger them, right? Because we know Microsoft wants to make more acquisitions, and you're going to have to run those acquisitions through regulators again. So you want to seem like you're very much taking their feedback into account, treating them with respect, even if they're not treating you with respect, because you've signaled that your competitors aren't stopping, so you're not going to stop, right? So you want a potential acquisition of Sega to go through in the future, and you would much rather have the thing where you didn't close over the CMA so that they can approve it, and the same thing with the FTC and whatnot. Because even when we were on, you weren't there yet, but we were on ILP on Sunday, and Destin Legary was on. Destin Legary basically brought up this idea, and it kind of went viral in a way, of that he thinks Microsoft's next acquisition is Take-Two. Because he thought there were some weird things going on between Xbox and Take-Two, Grand Theft Auto 5 returning to Game Pass. He sort of was like saying he thinks they'll go after Take-Two, and everybody in the panel was like, well, wait a minute, slow your roll a little bit. Like, that seems like you're going to go after Activision and then after Take-Two. That seems to be kind of unrealistic, because especially with PlayStation fans have been saying that, oh, you woke up Sony, and Sony's next target's Take-Two. Like, suddenly everybody's targeting Take-Two. But regardless of whether or not that's true, right? Regardless of whether or not they're looking at Take-Two or they have looked at Take-Two in the past, it's not necessarily about them. It's about, I don't know, lack of a better phrase, like greasing the wheels. Maybe that's probably not the best one, but is essentially trying to be in the good graces of regulators. Because let's imagine a scenario where Xbox had beat the FTC and the CMA was still like, I don't know, and they just closed over them, and they own ABK. But then you buy Take-Two, hypothetically, and it's got to go in front of these regulators again. I guarantee you the CMA blocks that just on principle.
Yeah.
Because you disrespected them, right? And the FTC would block it, and maybe even other regulators across the world would block it because they saw what happened with one of the other ones. So it's probably in their best interest to actually work things out, because if you work things out, and if the UK is like, okay, we have concern about cloud, and you do something, and you do what Jez mentioned about like selling off the cloud thing to EE, so then the CMA is like, oh no, this is fine, and you buy another company, then they really shouldn't have any issues, right? Because if you buy another no other company has a Call of Duty. Remember, because this whole thing focused on Call of Duty for so long and for so many years, or not years, but like so many months, that even though the FTC argument was strictly about Call of Duty and stuff, the CMA and EU, they kind of threw that aside and they're like, that's not that important, but cloud gaming is. But now you've rectified that, right? You have these 10 years of commitments at the EU for cloud gaming. You have the CMA, you divested a small thing of your cloud gaming there, and you've just beaten the FTC in the submission here. So if you were to acquire another publisher, well, nobody really has a game on that level of Call of Duty, and it wouldn't really change too much of like the console stuff. So maybe it's just an easier path to get approved. Personally, I think they would still run into problems with Take-Two, but if you went for somebody smaller like a Sega, I don't really think there's any issues that you would have with anybody, because it's not like Sony's going to come crawling out and saying that Sonic is, super important to their business, right? Or even if you do come out and say, hey, we're acquiring Sega, but we're actually going to run them multi-platform, just like just like the court documents showed that was Microsoft's plan, then people will be like, okay, well, if you're going to run, say they acquire Sega in 2-3 years, right? And they're like, well, our plans to run this multi-platform, then you can just point to Microsoft's commitment to Call of Duty and see, have you actually kept up, and is Call of Duty still everywhere, what you're doing. So it's like, it'd be easier for Microsoft to push through the regulators the varying degrees of acquisitions that they want to pursue in the future.
Yeah.
At least that's my take on it. I don't know.
No, it's the right take. They need to be on the side of regulators, and being hostile about it puts them in a bad light.
Because it's not even just about Xbox. Microsoft as a company is going to want to acquire more.
Yeah.
And you don't want to piss off. Yeah, you don't want to piss off the regulators because you had to close over them, because the company's still going to want to acquire more. So ABK has been delayed and extended. It didn't close on the 18th. It's been extended to October 15th, but it looks like it might close by August 29th with the CMA, as they're working on something new. Who knows what's going on with the FTC? But one of the big things with the FTC was, that they were very much like fighting for PlayStation, but PlayStation, well, they bent the knee to Phil. And I guess, as you say, it was only a matter of time, or at least you knew when this happened that it was all over, because PlayStation held out for as long as they could. People thought that when the CMA threw out the console theory of harm, that that PlayStation would come to the negotiating table, and they didn't. It was because they're waiting to see if the FTC would actually beat them, and when they didn't, it seemed like, all right, our only recourse is to make sure we get this deal, because Phil Spencer said on what day was that? On July 16th, on a Sunday, we are pleased to announce that Microsoft and PlayStation have signed a binding agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We look forward to a future where players globally have more choice to play their favorite games. Now, so Jim played hardball. Hey, Jim, you did a good job. You protected your business interests. But the gambit didn't entirely pay off, did it, Jez?
No, it did not. I mean, Jimbo said originally to Phil in an email, we want all their games to have parity. We want all Activision games to come to PlayStation forever, and all this kind of stuff. Basically, yeah, playing hardball. Otherwise, we're gonna work to block the deal or whatever. And yeah, it didn't pan out, like you said. What was the final deal they got, Rand?
Yeah, I mean, basically 10 years of Call of Duty, and that's it. Whereas before, previous deal also included ABK games as well. You see, some people will come and they'll say, oh, Jimbo played it masterfully. He was originally given a 3-year deal, and he turned that into a 10-year deal. And I'm like, are you guys dumb? Are you guys stupid? Microsoft had zero intentions of ever removing Call of Duty from PlayStation. So whether it was a 3-year deal, a 5-year deal, a 7-year deal, a 10-year deal, it wasn't going anywhere, right? So, and you're not going to offer your best deal the first one. So I know Xbox offered 3 years, which would have been like 2024 to 2027, but it wasn't until the email exchange between Jim and Phil, where Jim wanted ABK games and he wanted Bethesda games, that Phil was like, I don't think so, right? because Jim is like, maybe Jim thought he had the leverage and was like, we're really going to basically oppose you in this, but if we kind of get what we want, we're not. And maybe if they don't, maybe if Sony doesn't oppose it like as hard as they did, maybe the CMA and the FTC approve that shit. We'll never know, because it certainly seemed like the FTC was reading off of Sony's cliff notes, right?
Yeah, it really did seem like that. Yeah.
So Sony opposed it, and Phil fought it because PlayStation thought maybe they had the leverage. And then when the FTC lost, and it looked like the CMA was renegotiating, PlayStation lost all their leverage. So what did Xbox do? It's like, all right, you can have this 10-year deal that we literally gave Nvidia and Nintendo because we don't have any intentions of ever removing Call of Duty from PlayStation, but that's all you're getting because we don't need to offer you anything else. We don't need to offer future ABK games or Bethesda games. You lost. If we want to put those games on PlayStation, we will, but this is strictly for COD. So Jim ended up getting a worse deal out of this. And I don't know, when people say he turned what's the saying? He turned like, I forget the saying, but he basically he got instead of getting 3 years, he got 10. But the thing is, he was always it was never going anywhere.
Wine, were you thinking?
I don't know. I was thinking of something else. But no, he got a worse deal out of it. So instead of actually getting future ABK games, all he gets is COD, which he was always going to get. Yeah. So how is he the winner? No, sir. He's the loser in this. I'm sorry. Yes. They lost. PlayStation lost. They lost the leverage. And they lost future ABK games. Now, granted, who knows how many ABK games there will be in the future? We know Odyssey for one. We know, potentially, I don't even know other than that. But even StarCraft. Still, you saw, we saw but I don't even think StarCraft's going to be on Xbox, Jez.
You think it's going to be PC only?
I think it'll be a PC only, just like Age of Empires 4 was.
Yeah, but what if it's not an RTS? What if it was always designed to be a multi-platform shooter spin-off or something?
Maybe in that case. Sure. But if I'm thinking like a proper StarCraft 3 that is the sequel of StarCraft 2, I would imagine that's like PC exclusive for a while, and they try to figure out how it controls. This is why one of the things where I'm telling you why I think Odyssey might be exclusive is because Phil kind of fought pretty hard to get that with Jim about those sort of things. And if the deal's done in August before that Odyssey game's revealed, there'd be really nothing preventing that game from only being on Xbox. I mean, if you went through all the trouble of being like, no, it's only Call of Duty and not these other things, that's why I think there's a chance, Jez. A small chance, but I'm going to go with it. Because otherwise, because who would have, who knows how many games ABK has that are coming out in the next 4 years that aren't Call of Duty anyways? Could be quite a few, could be a small amount. I'm not really sure. Just bring it says FTC CMA will block future deals if ABK is exclusive. What, the other games? I don't think so. Because the whole thing was about Call of Duty. It wasn't about...
No one even mentioned Crash or Tony Hawk.
Yeah, it wasn't about, Spyro, the next Spyro's exclusive? Nobody cares.
Yeah, I've actually had... There is a small but very, very passionate community of Spyro fans and Crash fans, and I've had at least 4 or 5 DMs from fans of Crash and Spyro asking me if I think those games are going to be exclusive because they don't own an Xbox right now, and none of these games were even discussed by the CMA or the FTC, fair or not, but there is potentially a lot of fan bases who are going to have to convert to Xbox if they want to continue indulging in those franchises, because I personally think the next Crash and the next Spyro will probably be exclusive, I would imagine. Could be wrong, but... Yeah.
No, I'd agree with you. We have Poochie member for 17 months. I think another acquisition happens in the next 2 to 3 years, at least before COD is marketed for Xbox. Those 10-year deals is proof for the government. That's the other thing. Like the COD marketing, Sony's going to lose that. Maybe they already lost. I don't know. There's some speculation that maybe Jim would just give up COD marketing rights for this year. You know, just be like, I don't want it. Like, what would be the point? I don't know if that's the case, but I guess we'll find out whenever they do the reveal of the new COD. I think they wouldn't give that up. Why would they? Right? They paid for it. It's still a big thing. You can still sell consoles off of it. And how many actual normies know that Xbox purchased ABK at this point? I really don't know. EUNews says, was Jim Ryan's absurd demand before the Eternal email saying all Bethesda games non-exclusive? Maybe Jim's arrogance lost PS future Bethesda titles. I mean, I think Jim was just doing what he should have done for PlayStation. He was trying to squeeze Phil for more stuff. Unfortunately, Phil's made of sterner things than that. Some lesser men would have given in and been like, all right, we'll give you what you want, and had a easier road to clear the regulators. Instead, it was like, no, because Phil knows exclusives matter, right? They're marketing beats for the platform. People have demanded more of that stuff, and he's not going to bend the knee to PlayStation in that regard. So, you know who's going to bend the knee? It's going to be Jim Ryan. You got to sign that contract. Make sure you get release parity. Make sure you get technical parity. Make sure you get all those sort of things. Now, what I thought could be interesting, Jez, was, does this mean that Jim is going to be giving Xbox PS6 dev kits?
Yeah, I mean, that was the other
PS5 Pro dev kits.
Yeah, so I mean, that was the contention as well, that the FTC.
That was even something the FTC brought up as like a thing of harm. Like, oh, they're gonna have to share confidential information with their competitor.
Yeah,
right?
and then the judge was like, well, what's that got to do with consumers, you know? Yeah, it was. They probably won't have to. I would have thought, you know. I'm sure Sony's probably won some concessions for Call of Duty. I reckon they've won a parity clause, for example, and I reckon they have a parity clause right. I've got this conspiracy theory that they've got a parity clause for Minecraft right now, which is why Minecraft is lame on both consoles, because Microsoft doesn't want to take advantage of, you know, the PlayStation 5 or something. I don't know. They can't make it have proper parity or something, so both versions have to be bad. I don't know. I got some kind of conspiracy theory about that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a parity clause for Call of Duty.
Well, you do know that Minecraft runs better on PlayStation, right?
Well, there's that too. I mean, but I was talking about features like ray tracing, or the Xbox version having more features, or some kind of deeper integration with Game Pass for, you know, perks or something. I don't know, anything. But you would have thought that Minecraft would be more associated with Xbox than it is, you know, and it really isn't associated with Xbox at all. It's truly a multi-platform game, and Microsoft does almost little to nothing to associate themselves with Minecraft. And they've done like a couple of custom Minecraft controllers or something like that. But beyond that, there's no inkling that that's even a Microsoft game, to be fair. And Call of Duty probably be the same way, you know. Destiny's playing out similarly as well. Like, Destiny has almost no real integration with PlayStation. You know,
that's not true.
I mean,
that's not true. They just had like custom skins from like God of War and like Last of Us and you know, Horizon in their game and stuff that I think you can only get on PlayStation. I could be wrong, but it was like the first clear sign of some sort of PlayStation integration where you could get these skins that were resembling of like PlayStation franchises.
Well, I guess Minecraft has some skins too that probably aren't on Xbox or whatever, but
well, yeah, I mean Mario stuff, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But there's Halo skins for Minecraft too. But yeah, I don't know.
So here's something I was thinking. Like, imagine a scenario where like PlayStation doesn't give Activision PS6 dev kits, right?
Well, it'd be a backwards compatible version.
Yeah,
It'll be a
that would be the
PlayStation.
case.
It would be a
But
PlayStation 5 and then an Xbox Series
right,
X.
would that like say that's the case hypothetically? They don't give PS6 versions, but obviously the PS5 version would be back compatible in PS6. Would that prevent the Xbox version of COD of actually being a native
Well, yeah,
Xbox Series X2 version, or would that not
that's
matter?
that's the theory. The theory is that if you're doing parity and you don't have a PlayStation 6 dev kit, you could undermine Call of Duty by forcing it to be a past gen version. You know, I mean, it really depends like what kind of concessions of Microsoft's had to give there. Because I feel like that's kind of the case with Minecraft, or maybe it's just, you know, Mo Yang's chilling. But Minecraft, maybe Mo Yang's just chilling. But like we don't have a PlayStation 5 native version of Minecraft, and we don't have a Xbox Series X native version of Minecraft, and I can't help but wonder if that's due to a parity clause, you know. And it's kind of lame that these kind of issues dictate progress, because Minecraft absolutely should have shaders now on console. There's no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, Microsoft even accidentally implemented it on Xbox and then said it was a mistake. Bullshit. You know, they literally, it's ready to go, and some legal bullshit's holding it up. It's so weird. It's so strange. And we're going to probably see that play out with Call of Duty as well. And that could undermine Call of Duty's viability as a franchise. Like, if it starts falling behind and other games start looking better and cooler. Like, what if the next gen... I mean, Battlefield's always had a visual edge over Call of Duty, to be honest. What the issue with Battlefield is that the devs, EA, got way too greedy and shat the bed and killed the franchise, almost. But now you've got Vince from Respawn working on Battlefield, so presumably the next game will actually be good and probably look better than Call of Duty as well. And then you'll have Sony pushing Battlefield really hard because they want to undermine Call of Duty because it's owned by Microsoft now. They could wield the parity clause as a weapon, potentially. And they probably will, you know. I really don't think PlayStation wants to be in a position where they have to rely on Call of Duty anymore, especially now it's owned by Microsoft. They hate Microsoft and they don't want to work with them. They begrudgingly work with them. But yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. So yeah, that's all the stuff going on with the... I wonder if we'll even hear any more about this until their negotiations and it closes sometime in August.
Yeah.
But either way, that's what's going on there with them. PlayStation had to sign the contract. But I don't know. This next thing about Xbox Game Pass Core, a lot of discussion around it, Jez. A lot of discussion.
Yeah.
Some people are upset. Some people are outraged. Most people maybe don't care. But Xbox Live Gold is dead.
Rip in peace.
Or at least it's being renamed because Microsoft, which Windows Central leaked a day early. By the way, what happened with that? What happened with Windows Central?
Oh god, yeah. This was a nightmare. This happened at 3 a.m. on Sunday when I'm trying to sleep. I woke up randomly, and I always check my phone.
Well, it happened at like 6 p.m. like Central, 7 Eastern, or whatever time. Like you were sleeping, I think, because I DM'd you right away. I'm like, "What's this?"
Yeah. So, yeah, I was asleep, and then I woke up, and then I suppose it was about an hour or two after it had all gone down, but. What happened was, there was so for those that don't know, Windows Central broke an embargo last week. First time, actually. We leaked the Xbox Game Pass Core news early. We had it under embargo. And suddenly, a Korean Xbox blog had picked up the article and linked back to us. And I was so confused. Because I was looking all over the front page on Windows Central for this article. It was not there. I was looking on our RSS feed. It was not there. On our social systems, it was not picked up. I was like, how the hell did this random blog get access to our content, which isn't scheduled to go live until whenever it was? I think it was Monday. And I was really confused. So I was thinking, oh my god, one of our writers has leaked it to this blog or sold it or something. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. because as someone pointed out to me, you could see the article just by scrolling down on the page. So a bug with our infinite scroll on the website was showing articles that weren't meant to be there. And that was a result of a code branch that had been merged without someone's knowledge over the weekend or something, which had interfered with the code branch from another repo. And yeah, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. But yeah, we sorted out, fixed the bug. Infinite Scroll's back up today, and Microsoft forgave us.
Was Microsoft pissed at you guys?
They weren't pissed, but it gave them caused them a lot of stress. I mean, they understood it wasn't malicious and bugs can happen. I mean, Microsoft's done it themselves before, where they've posted their own
stuff already.
Yeah, they've posted their own embargoes early before by mistake.
They're like, this just damn Jez Corden always leaking our stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it was just nerve wracking because A, it was me, and it was my article, and B, it was the middle of the night on Sunday, and they were dealing with a bunch of ABK bullshit as well at the same time. So, yeah, it was a bit awkward. But enough of that. The takes on this plan, I think, have been really wild and really strange, and I don't understand a lot of them. So a lot of people are mad for some reason about this change, even though you're getting all the same stuff.
Well, we should probably say what is changing, right?
Okay. Well,
so
give us the deets.
Because right now you have Xbox Live Gold, which for $10 a month or for $60 a year gives you access to multiplayer and gives you 2 games with gold titles. Shit, games with gold titles, but 2 free games nonetheless. And then you also then have Xbox Game Pass Console, which gives you over hundreds of console games. Yeah. And then you have PC Game Pass, which gives you the same thing, hundreds of PC games, plus EA Play, right? New games on day one on both console and PC. But console's $1 more expensive. It's $10.99. PC is $9.99. And then combining them all is Ultimate for $16.99. It gives you console Game Pass, it gives you PC Game Pass, and it gives you Xbox Live Gold, right? And EA Play membership. So I'm on Xbox Live. I'm on Ultimate. I've been on Ultimate since it came out. I have 3 years stocked up, so I'm good on Ultimate until 2026, essentially, right? So what's changing with this is Xbox Live Gold is going away. They're retiring the name, and they're calling it Xbox Game Pass Core. So they're giving it the Game Pass branding. So with Game Pass Core, you are getting online access and a selection of 25 titles from Game Pass for the same price that Xbox Live Gold was, $9.99 a month or $60 a year. So instead of the shitty games of gold games that they've been giving us, people that signed to Core will get 25 titles from Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and their content partners. And new titles will be added 2 to 3 times a year. So right now we know 19 of them, and these are them. So you can get Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2, and Elder Scrolls Online. Right? So 19 games, and they said the launch collection will have 25, so there's still 6 more games that they got to reveal.
Those are going to be ABK games.
It would be interesting. So it's coming on September 14th, right? So already you're like, all right, if you compare Xbox Live Gold to this is way more value, right? You get way better games than Games of Gold would ever give you. And it's essentially the same thing. It's just a name change. And instead of Games of Gold, you get 25 games from Game Pass. But everything else stayed the same. Console Game Pass stayed the same, and it's still $10.99. PC Game Pass stayed the same, and it's still $9.99. And Ultimate stayed the same, and it's still $16.99. Because they raised the prices recently on console and Ultimate. But otherwise, it stayed the same. But people started to really have an issue with the new structure, and I understand some of it, and some of it I don't. Like, first off, paying for multiplayer is always a sore spot. Nobody wants to pay for multiplayer. I don't want to pay for multiplayer. Jez doesn't want to play for multiplayer. Everybody in the chat doesn't want to play for multiplayer, right? And I think that's sort of the problem here, is that Microsoft has this billion-dollar revenue stream that they're not going to give up, especially probably now with Call of Duty, where they know people are going to need to subscribe to Gold to get it, or Core now, right? And I also sort of think the naming, the new branding, doesn't do this any sort of justice at all, because it makes it seem like this should be the bottom tier, and all the other tiers should be working up from this, right? So when you look at core, because that's what the name implies, core, it implies it's like the core of something, and everything else expands out from there. But it's not the case, because Xbox Game Pass Core has multiplayer, and console Game Pass doesn't. So people look at that and are like, wait a minute, that's bullshit. Console Game Pass should have multiplayer. And while I agree that it really should, even though, like, we'll talk about maybe why it shouldn't, and how nothing has really changed at all outside of Ultimate users not receiving games of gold anymore. I don't know if Infinite Number is in the chat, because he's been a big proponent of, like, we lost something, and I'm a proponent of, like, we didn't lose shit because games of gold is garbage. Like, I'm actually happy games of gold is dead. I'm someone who's been paying for Ultimate for 3 years and I couldn't even tell you the last time I downloaded a Games of Gold title. They're crap. They've been crap ever since Game Pass came out. You can tell where all the budget went, right? I think the issue people have is they think of core as the bottom tier, when in reality, it's just one of 3 tiers, right? It's, for those that want online play, you have Game Pass Core. For those that want console Game Pass, you have console Game Pass. And for those that want Game Pass on PC, you have PC Game Pass. And for those that want all of them, you have the next tier up. It's Ultimate. So it's 3 tiers into a higher tier Ultimate. It's not Core and then a step up is console and then Ultimate. Because I think that's how some people are viewing it. As that way, because I think that's where some of the issues stem from, right, Jez? Or at least what I can gather from it.
Yeah, I mean, the branding is weird. I mean, yeah, it is, and like the whole idea of core and stuff, it sort of doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't do it justice, like you said. But I'm kind of with you. I don't get the outrage. We haven't lost anything. Games with Gold was terrible, and I think it was actually detracting from the brand. I think the budget they were using for Games with Gold should be going to Game Pass, and now it will be going to Game Pass, because everything's Game Pass now, and Games with Gold can, be forgotten, because it was good for a little time. But then Game Pass came out, and then Game Pass just took all the budget. And Game Pass is way better than Games with Gold ever was. So, yeah, I don't think that's a big loss there. The paid multiplayer thing is a necessary evil, because it subsidizes the fact that the consoles have no margins. If you want to live in a world where there's no paid multiplayer, like on mobile and like on console, the hardware has to be not subsidized, and that's why iPhones cost $1 million, and that's why PCs cost more, and even stuff like the LG, what's it called, the Logitech G Cloud, even that is really expensive, because there's no software upsell for Logitech, so they have to sell the hardware at cost. Which is why, it costs $200 or whatever it is, even though it's just a cloud gaming device. And it's like, well, yeah, that's how much the hardware costs, And like the reason why other devices are cheaper is because it's subsidized. I think like, the Steam Deck, for example, heavily subsidized by the fact that it is pretty much exclusively running Steam Store. You can put other stores on it, but it's a pain to do, and most people aren't going to bother doing it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a necessary evil right now. And we've always said, like, and I know Microsoft, I've spoken to Microsoft a lot about this. Philosophically, they don't like it either. But it's also the business model. And they don't know if they can replace the money lost to fund the servers and all that kind of stuff, and the support infrastructure and all those systems, which you don't really get on PC, because the services come through third-party stores and stuff like this. But all that stuff is subsidized by the fee. Now, is there a point where Game Pass Ultimate is so big that it makes having to pay for multiplayer redundant? Is there a world where actually having to pay for multiplayer is prohibitive on Game Pass Ultimate? Because there could be more players for people who are subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate, and stuff like that. There probably is a point where it makes more sense to get rid of it, but we're just not there yet. We're not there yet, and it'll take a while to get there. And I think like some of the weird economics around Game Pass Core, and it is strange how Game Pass for console should be the one that most people subscribe to by way of the branding, but it doesn't have the multiplayer attachment to it. Now, if you add up Game Pass for console with Game Pass Core, which is what you'd need to have Game Pass and multiplayer, it is slightly cheaper than buying 12 months of Game Pass Ultimate. I think it's like $6 cheaper or something. But then you don't get cloud gaming, and you don't get PC Game Pass, and you don't get the Game Pass Ultimate perks as well.
What's cheaper?
If you buy Game Pass Core and Game Pass Console together for 12 months, it's slightly cheaper than paying for 12 months. I mean, like, of Game Pass Ultimate.
I suppose it is. Well, yeah, because was it $16.99?
Yeah, I did the math in the article. I can't remember what it was now, but it is slightly cheaper. But you don't get all the other stuff. But Microsoft wants it to be unattractive to do that. They don't want people to think like this is the good way. They want people to think, oh, the obvious option is to upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate. Because Game Pass Ultimate is the route, I believe, to getting rid of the multiplayer fee. Game Pass Ultimate has to hit a critical mass before we get there. But until we get there, nothing's really changed. They've done this as well to retain the yearly discount, which you don't get with Game Pass. And when they did try to get rid of it, we were all very angry about it, weren't we, Rand? When they did try and get rid of it. So yeah, I think there's no real big deal here. And I think it's a flash in the pan, and everyone will forget next week.
There's an interesting comment in here in chat that says, Crisis Core says the answer is to do it how Sony did it, where there's continuity throughout all three tiers. That is true, but the thing is that's impossible to do now because of the way Xbox had it set up. Right? Xbox had Xbox Live Gold, which was $60 a year, and it gave you free games with games with gold. And then they introduced Game Pass as a separate thing for $9.99, and PC Game Pass as a separate thing for $9.99, and then Ultimate as combining them, right? Where PlayStation, it was, here's PlayStation Plus, right? Here's PSN Now, and then they built off of PlayStation Plus for their game subscription service. So PlayStation Plus is $10 a month, but if you go up to 15, now it's $15 a month, and you get all these games in the game catalog, and then if you go up to $17.99 or whatever it is, you get like the streaming stuff, like the PlayStation Now stuff, and some of the older games, right? I think it's just the way they sort of waited and they didn't offer that until later, and then they built that where like Xbox was like had different subscriptions, which is one of the reasons why they're in this predicament in the first place, because you had this Xbox Live Gold, you have console, they existed separately, right? And then you combine them into Ultimate to force people into Ultimate to pay more, because people, obviously, there are some multiplayer games in Game Pass, and you need multiplayer. It's like, oh, well, okay, I need multiplayer. I need this other subscription, and it's boom. Now you have Ultimate, right? So you have the two combining into one, where PlayStation's one was just the ladder moving up. Honestly, when I see Xbox Game Pass Core as a title, as the name, I sort of don't even feel like this is Xbox Game Pass Core, right? To me,
should be called Basic or something.
I don't even know, because it's not even base. Like,
no, it's online, isn't it? It's so weird.
It's just Xbox Live Gold. It's just Xbox Live Gold with 25 games, which are better games. I think Core,
this is what will eventually happen. I think they'll eventually probably remove Game Pass console and just expect you to, eventually. And probably just expect you to go all the way to Ultimate if you want, again, that stuff.
You see, this is because I've seen people say that they need to add multiplayer to console, right? And it's like, oh, well, but the thing is, if you did that, here's what would happen. If you added Game Pass, if you added multiplayer to console Game Pass, you would probably have to increase the price of it, right? Because Microsoft sells multiplayer separately for $10, and this is console Game Pass for $10. So you probably would have to increase the price. But even let's say you didn't. Let's say Microsoft was feeling generous, even though they're a corporation. Let's say they were feeling generous and we're like, all right, Xbox Game Pass console with multiplayer now, $10.99. Even though that takes away a lot of the value of Ultimate, let's just say they did that. $10.99. That comes out to $131 a year, right? Because there's no yearly option for Game Pass for whatever reason. This is something that we've talked about, and we're like, why isn't there a yearly discount for Game Pass? There just isn't. There isn't a yearly discount for Ultimate. The only one that gets a yearly discount is Gold. I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know why there's not a yearly discount for Game Pass, but there isn't. So it'd be like $131 a year, and you know what? Not everybody wants Game Pass. No. Not everybody plays all those games. Some people might just want to be like, I just want to play this multiplayer game. And then you'd be forcing people who only want multiplayer to basically pay double. Right? Because before it was $60 a year, but now it's $131 a year. Assuming even if they don't raise the price. So now multiplayer becomes double what it was when people freaked out when me and Jez and everybody went at Microsoft for trying to do that a couple years ago. That's what would happen. And then when the comparison to PlayStation would start, and PlayStation's like, well, you can get multiplayer there for $60, but on Xbox it's $130. So even the comparisons of multiplayer would creep back in, and that's not something Xbox wants. So that's sort of the reason why it's either this way or they get rid of multiplayer altogether. Because in my view, if they got rid of multiplayer altogether, you can make Xbox Core truly core. And what I mean by that is you could have Xbox Game Pass Core for $4.99 a month, and it comes with those 25 games. And for like $5, it's really just the taste of Game Pass. And that's what core actually kind of signifies. It's just kind of a taste. And if you want more, you go all the way up to $10.99, and then you get the whole thing. You get all the games and all the day one releases. And then you move up to Ultimate, and you get PC and all that sort of stuff. But that only really works if multiplayer is removed from the equation altogether. Either it doesn't exist or it's included in one of the other tiers. But you can't really include it in console because it makes the comparison to PlayStation's multiplayer offering, it looks really bad on Xbox's side. So they're kind of in this like pickle of the way they've set up the tiers to begin with, where it's like,
do you like pickles?
I hate pickles. I really do.
So, yeah, pickles are no fun. Microsoft's in a pickle.
So I don't know what they could do. They're kind of boxed themselves into a corner on this. the solution to me would be get rid of multiplayer, but it's a $1 billion revenue stream, and that's probably too much to ask for Xbox at this point in time. Maybe they can remove it if Ultimate hits a certain number of subscribers. I don't know. And it also has the side benefit of turning all the current Xbox Live Gold members into Game Pass members. So then Xbox, let's just say Xbox right now has 30 million Game Pass members across PC, console, and Ultimate. And let's just say there's 20 million Gold users, right? Suddenly now, when this comes into effect and everybody on Xbox Live Gold becomes Game Pass, suddenly now Microsoft can say they have 50 million Game Pass subscribers, right? So it does give them the the benefit of like saying, hey, look how many subscribers we have now. And if you're giving all those people access to games like Grounded and Fallout 76, so maybe those games get a higher player count. I think it's interesting something like Sea of Thieves isn't included, or like Halo Infinite or whatever, but maybe those games still, or like the new Forza Horizon 5's not in there before it was. So, I mean, I sort of, even though this is nothing but a name change, I understand, because I don't think, like everything with Xbox, I think the naming convention sucks. And it signifies something that really doesn't exist, like a tiered system. And paying for multiplayer is kind of screwing with everything, because you can't put it in other tiers without making Xbox look bad versus PlayStation. So it's kind of like you just kind of, this is the way it is.
I think probably the answer is just putting multiplayer into Game Pass console and increasing the price of it a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the answer. Because
but you look at it from Xbox's side, that removes the value of Ultimate, and then what do you do? What do you do to the people saying that you just made Ultimate twice as expensive, or you just made multiplayer access twice as expensive for people that only want multiplayer access?
Well, then they just keep paying for core. I don't know, because at least
you think
keep core, and then at least at least then it's a tiered system, and
So you think they have? So your solution is they have core with multiplayer access and the 25 games, and then add multiplayer access to
console.
But raise the price of it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, maybe to $13. And then people wouldn't need to subscribe to both, and it'd still be a little bit cheaper than Ultimate.
But then what do you do with? So what would you do with Ultimate then?
Well, Ultimate's already a bit weird because, if I'm a console player, I don't need the PC stuff. If I'm a console player, maybe I don't want to use the cloud stuff, So it's already a little bit weird. So let Ultimate be for people like me who actually do want to play Xbox across everything. I use Game Pass Ultimate on my ROG Ally. I use cloud, So I am like getting the full value out of Game Pass Ultimate. But a lot of people won't. A lot of people don't necessarily want the PC Game Pass on top of it. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. But
maybe
what do I know?
Maybe. I see. Twitter just announced anybody with an unverified account will have daily limits on the number of DMs they can send. Jesus.
Why do they keep doing this stuff, man? It's so dumb. It is so dumb. Everyone's going to be going to Discord and on Threads, running away from Twitter. It's like he wants it to die, man. So dumb.
I don't know. But you guys do us a huge favor. Make sure you hit the like button. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Big Afroman says, do you guys think Xbox is already starting to plan stuff and how to integrate ABK into Game Pass in the Xbox ecosystem? I'm sure there have been plans, yes. I mean, like Jez said, Microsoft's the one that fixed the cloud servers. So that's already, something that has happened. So I would imagine there's probably plans that they have worked up about what they want to do. I don't think they can communicate those plans, or maybe they could communicate those plans to ABK, but they couldn't implement them because they don't own them. I'm not sure how that works, but I would imagine they have plans all set up and kind of ready to roll for things that they can essentially hand out to, ABK to get things rolling. Yeah, so the core stuff, I mean, gold needed to go away, right? It was a relic. Games with gold either needed to get better or just disappear. And unfortunately, it never got better, despite the fact that people were demanding better from Microsoft for years on games with gold. It didn't matter to them. When it doesn't matter to a company, it doesn't matter how much you bitch or complain. If it's not in their plans, they're not going to do it. And people had bitched and complained about the games with gold stuff for years, and Microsoft just didn't care.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think people were happy with Game Pass and they're getting better stuff there. And now now it's gone. And if you feel like you're losing, if you lost some value in Ultimate, hey, I mean, that's I know value is subjective to each person. I don't feel like I've lost any value on my Ultimate subscription because I never used games with gold anyways. But if you're someone who has, then everybody sees value differently. Then I don't know what to tell you. But my hope is that at some point they do remove multiplayer, or they do what Jez said, like they just add multiplayer to the console, but also keep it on the core. That way, it's kind of like, okay, you don't have the scenario of raising the price. That would probably be the best solution. But I still think there probably needs to be a cheaper solution of like $5 a month. Here's like, I don't know, Game Pass Core just screams to me, it's $5. You know what I mean? Like something's not core if it costs $10 a month. I don't know. I think like with Xbox, they just screw up naming stuff all the time. But
are you telling me you don't like the name Xbox Elite Controller Series 2? No?
Yeah, I mean, that's okay, I guess.
Are you telling me you don't like the name Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S? Are you telling me you don't like the name Xbox One S, even though there's already an Xbox One from 2003? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's move on over to the good old Patreon questions, shall we, Jez?
Yes, indeed. Also, I want to point out that I said the UK's inflation rate earlier was 16%. I don't know where I got that figure from. I must be tired because it's 7% or something. But it's still bad. It's still bad and spooky and scary, and I don't like it. Make it go down. Please. Thanks.
Make it go down?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to drop us some Patreon questions, you can over at patreon.com/XB2. It's one of the tiers. You can drop a question. We'll answer it every single week. And let's I can't believe this is episode 275. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
25 more to go to 300. We need to like hit up Phil and be like, hey, you want to come on for episode 300? Maybe we can be like Xbox there and be like, it's a milestone. Can you come on, please? Even though they barely even existed. Like, please come on.
Wow, you really got to do them like that.
I mean, I got to be on Xbox Air tomorrow, unfortunately. Hopefully, Special Nick's not there. We have Sierra11 Kevin says, Jez, I haven't heard anything about Age of Empires 4 console or Aura History Untold in a while. Any ideas on their status? Maybe good Gamescom items?
If you sign up on Aura History Untold's website, you can actually test the game out. Mm-hmm. So they do have an insider program, which people are actively using. So yeah, it's not like the game's in development hell or anything like that. It's still coming. But they have been quiet, and I suppose Gamescom would be a good time to start talking about the game again, hopefully, because strategy simulation games are very big in mainland Europe, especially in Germany. I literally have a friend in Germany who's a farmer in real life, and when he's not farming in real life, he plays Farming Simulator, which is just very German. I think that'd be a good place to bring it, and hopefully we see more of it soon, because I'm pretty intrigued by that game. Could be Microsoft's answer to Civ. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Our History Untold was supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, everything was supposed to come out and then it gets delayed. Nothing comes out
Yeah.
on time anymore.
Nothing comes out on time anymore. Robbie says, "Hey, Bland and Jeremy, do you think there is a chance the CMA is using this extension so the FTC can regroup? This all smells fishy to me. I just want this saga to be over. Have a great weekend, guys."
No, I think the FTC is run out of options. I mean, the CMA could still throw curveballs around and screw people over and stuff. I mean, if you go back and look at how the deal for ARM and Nvidia played out, the CMA was pretty instrumental in making that deal fall apart. So, I mean, but that was a genuinely bad deal. That would have genuinely created an issue with chip monopoly and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think there's really no FTC regrouping, essentially, even though they may want to. I think the CMA sees the writing on the wall. I do think there was a coordinated effort between the two to kind of like, all right, we're gonna block this, and then we'll run the clock out, and that didn't work. And now they're just like, shit. So FTC lost, and it seemed like maybe they were gonna close. And like CMA's like, maybe the CMA got pressured by the UK government. I did see a report from somebody that kind of talked about that, where it's like, stop making us look bad, and they're kind of like, all right, let's sort of have another look at this and come up with a thing that makes sense for everybody. But no, I don't think it's they're using it to regroup. No. Ryan, he says, "Hey guys, what do you think about a double or nothing bet on when exactly the ABK deal will close?" No thanks.
Come on, Rand. Double or nothing. One chip challenge.
I'll do a bet about the deal closing. That means Jez would have to take the position that it's not closing, which I don't think he will, because I think he knows it's closing. But on like exactly the date, no, not doing that. See, the reason I took
need to figure out to make a way of making you take the one chip challenge.
There's nothing you can do to make me do. I would never do a bet where I'm doing the one chip challenge. It's not happening. Money, sure. That's why I was so confident with this, where we bet the money, because I sort of knew, listening to the judge and all that stuff, that she was not going to rule in favor of the FTC. You felt differently because you're doing the whole reverse jinx stuff about like, oh guys, I don't know what happened here. Like, oh, it's gonna, you were doing that whole thing. You were pissing everybody off. You know how many people were pissed off by you constantly doing that every single week about, nope, deals got, you literally have tweets on Twitter where you're like, deals got 2% chance going through. How's that looking now, Jez?
Well, hey, I didn't say 0% chance. It was
2% chance.
Very,
you might as well,
very
play
lucky.
The lotto.
It's very lucky.
So no, there's literally no bet you could make with me where I would be like, we're betting that chip. I do not want to ever have that chip, and I never will have that chip. So there's nothing.
Why do I have to take the chip?
Because you changed the bet from $100 to the chip. You're the one who changed it. I personally wanted the $100, but you're like, you know what? I need to save this money. I'll eat the chip. So don't blame. You have nobody else to blame this on but yourself. You're the one who changed it, not me.
Fine.
Yeah. So yeah, no. I will. There's never a bet I will make, Ryan, for that chip. It'll be all money related or something. Because it'd be like, but not. No, my stomach, that's off limits. Because I'll probably end up dying if I ate that thing.
Don't be ridiculous.
Like seriously, I would die.
They wouldn't sell something on Amazon that can kill you.
No.
That's what I keep telling myself.
We'll find out next week when you and Gaz and Hargeet eat that chip together, and we're all just sitting there making fun of you. It's gonna be it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be something else. Man. Silas, Jez, you have always spoken lovingly about the Windows Phone, much like Rand sings the praise of bland and tasteless food. Hey, what about the Windows Phone did you love so much?
It was the interface, man. Like, I love the tiles. It's so smooth and so useful. Like, the tiles, like, had all the information I needed on. Like, my calendar. I love the calendar tile so much, the weather tile. And it was in a way that was visually consistent. Whereas like on Android, you can put like the widgets on there, but like they're ugly and they don't match sometimes. I mean, iOS has kind of co-opted and stolen a lot of that Windows widget functionality now in iOS, which is hilarious. So it proves it was the right decision to have made. But it had no apps. So, rip in peace. I actually have one here right now. I bought one off eBay recently.
Rip in peace, huh?
Yeah. Kind of right, baby.
We have SJ Dub saying, "Hey Rand and Jez, I hope you're both doing well and that Jez is preparing himself for the One Chip Challenge. I have a question for Jez. You tweeted last week to Halo fans about being wary of rumors about the franchise's future. Have you heard anything new about Halo's future, whether it's Infinite related or not? Have a great weekend."
Well, first of all, I know that person saying that Halo's been deprioritized and that it's this franchise is screwed. That was complete bullshit. That was all just made up for clout or clicks or some bullshit. I don't know. So don't take stock in that person. They don't know jack about what's going on with Halo. But I will say, I don't know jack either. Other than that, I was able to debunk that specific rumor. But I don't know details about what they're planning to do with the franchise now. You know, we've seen Halo Master Chief Collection have something of a resurgence on Steam recently. I think it hit 10,000 players again, which is funny because Halo Infinite's completely bottomed out. It's really funny. There's like a wave of shooter nostalgia taking place right now. People are playing the Master Chief Collection. People are playing Call of Duty classic games. I think people really are just sick of battle passes and fatigued by games trying to soak up all of your time. Like I was thinking earlier, like I've been exploring Diablo 4's season, and I'm just thinking like I don't think I've got time for this, you know. I loved my time with Diablo. Like I put like 200 hours into it or something. But I feel like I don't want to play the expansion. Not the expansion, the season. Because I'm more invested in World of Warcraft seasons. How many seasonal content things can I possibly commit to, you know? And I kind of feel like shooters are increasingly doing that as well. And like Halo Master Chief and Collection and Call of Duty, and the classic Call of Duty games, they don't ask that of you. They don't ask you to grind a battle pass, man. I'm just so fatigued with that stuff. But I don't know what the future of Halo looks like. We'll just have to kind of wait and see and wait it out.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. CJ says, "Hey gents, with the deal looking like it will close possibly in September, can we give Special Nick his flowers for predicting the deal will close September or October? I mean, he was wrong in the year, but it's something, right?" Yeah, he did say. Funny. Remember when everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to close in September last year," and it's like, yeah. Oh my lord. Gucci Cheese, hey guys. I got both of High Moon's Transformers games on Steam a few years ago and play them on my Steam Deck regularly. Do you guys think there's any real chance that High Moon can get the license back to finish their trilogy properly? I don't count Rise of the Dark Spark because it wasn't made by them. It was just a tie-in for the fourth movie. So I guess that basically...
Yeah, go ahead. There's a big fandom for those Transformers games, and it kind of feels like those were some of the best Transformers games. I would hope that there is a good chance that they can get back to working on that and getting the license, because one of the things Microsoft lacks is these kind of licensed kind of games, and I think having High Moon get some investment and return to Transformers. I was going to say Train Spotting then. I'm getting really tired now. A Train Spotting game, that'd be really weird.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm kind of for it though. But yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think it's something definitely on the cards. I mean, I could try and find out, I guess.
Well, I mean, I would like to see High Moon go back to make those Transformers games, but I don't know. That would require Xbox or whoever to go back and get those licenses, and I'm not sure that is something they would want to do. So it might be those games.
License that out easily.
Yeah, maybe
I
they
mean,
would. I mean, so you think they'd
there's a
get the
bunch.
license
There's a
again,
bunch
put
of
those games back
there's a
and back and pat, and then make
yeah
new Transformers titles?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
think so. There's a ton of terrible Transformers games out there that Hasbro's licensed out. Surely it would be beneficial to the IP if they actually had some good Transformers games coming out. There's like tons of Transformers mobile games that are just absolutely terrible, and that one Platinum made one, didn't they? I think. Am I getting confused? I can't.
Platinum made one. Yes, they did.
And that was not good, if I remember correctly.
I think it was okay, but yeah. I
I
mean,
didn't.
maybe you're right. Maybe they can go and see if the license is worth redoing. Carry-On says, "Hey both. Do you think there's any likelihood that Microsoft might bite if Bob Iger does decide to sell Disney? Microsoft has no
No.
foot in the entertainment industry besides Xbox, and Disney has no video game companies. So I can't see them experiencing the difficulties that Sony, with their film division, might have purchasing them. This would solve the pop culture issue Xbox has, but would Microsoft want to get involved in the film TV industry, especially with the current strikes? Looking forward to the show and the One Chip Challenge."
It's so far out of Microsoft's wheelhouse. I can't see it happening. Personally, I think that's the kind of purchase that Microsoft would really screw up if they did do it. Like right now, they got Phil, who's got a lot of expertise and growing a gaming business, but they'd kind of like be flying blind with Disney, and Iger would leave probably. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't see that.
There's the theme park business.
Yeah,
right?
That's wild, man. I can't see it personally. But
Maybe I don't know. Maybe Apple. Maybe Amazon. I mean, the thing is, who even has the money to buy Disney, right?
Disney's market cap's not that big, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't see I just couldn't see Microsoft buying Disney. I think it'd be more like
Disney's
somebody like Apple.
Disney's market cap is $160 billion. So I don't think Microsoft could even afford Disney now, because Microsoft has blown its cash reserves on ABK. So I don't think Microsoft could even afford Disney. So
I mean, not in like an all cash transaction, but they could easily give stock.
They could
easily
leverage
take
stock
on
or
debt,
something. But,
you know,
it'd be Apple, man. The only company that could buy Disney is probably Apple. Seriously, it's probably Apple.
Amazon.
I don't think even Amazon could buy it, especially because Amazon has, Amazon Prime and massive control of retail and stuff. I really think like only Apple would get away with buying Disney because of how much it costs and stuff. That'd be wild, man. I want to see it happen. I just want to see the carnage. I don't really care about any of Disney's stuff, so it doesn't bother me. I like Star Wars in passing sometimes, but I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars these days. That'd be wild, man. It'd be so interesting if they did that, but we'll see.
Yeah, it definitely would be. But I wouldn't expect Microsoft to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Sierra says, "I see Wushu Studios has supported Xbox recently for State of Decay and Forza Horizon. Do you think Xbox would target support studio acquisitions, or would partnerships work better for those work arrangements?"
I think Microsoft definitely wants to lock down some support studios. They've been burned in the past by support studios being acquired, and there are some support studios that are very crucial to them, like what are they called now? The Halo support studio.
What, Certain Affinity?
Certain Affinity, yeah. So I would think like they probably want to lock down Certain Affinity and stuff like that. I don't think a studio like Wushu is too crucial for them, but a lot of those support studios have been very important to Microsoft, especially during the pandemic. So yeah, I do think like after this, I do think the next acquisitions are probably going to be some of those support studios, like again, I've forgotten the name instantly.
You don't think it's going to be Take-Two?
I don't think it's going to be Take-Two. Yeah,
Well,
Joaquin in
if you
chat
woke
says
up-
Double 11. I think they
you-
acquired Double 11 as well.
If you woke up on a random day a year from now and it was like welcoming Xbox and the teams of Take-Two to Microsoft, would you freak out?
I would be like,
And you see an image of Grand Theft Auto, you see an image of NBA 2K, you see an image of BioShock, you see an image of XCOM. Would you be like, yo, what the hell?
I just think this ain't happening, man. What the hell? This is weird.
You know, Wushu's really been, yeah. I mean, obviously, State of Decay's 2 is continuously getting updates. You know, the team's working on State of Decay 3. They're doing this update for Forza Horizon 5. Does that mean that like their Playground's neck deep in Forza Horizon 6 at this point? Probably, maybe, or it just goes to show you just how many studios are required to even support existing live service games and games in general, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just gonna be interesting to see who they go for next.
Stassi Mods says, we all know our reason for being an Xbox fan, but what do you think it is or could be to make the Xbox brand more attractive to the next generation? Better games? Better quality games? More games?
Creative games. More
Jez
games.
will say add waifus.
Yeah, waifus is one thing. Anime, gacha games. Gen Z and love that. But it's these creative kind of games, these social games where you can collaborate and build together, and you know, Robloxy kind of games. Really, I think Microsoft probably needs to explore, you know, what the next generation of Minecraft looks like. You know, maybe even make a Minecraft 2 or something that's more comprehensive with you know, with what the tools that can be used. So yeah. I think that's how Microsoft gets the next generation. It's not building the kind of games we like. I don't think younger gamers like the kind of games that we like, you know. Frankly.
Yeah. They gotta build games that I guess the younger people, but I mean, I think it starts with just building great games, period.
Yeah.
And then maybe you go from there, right? You gotta have that.
Yeah.
You know, because you can say, did the young people love the games Nintendo makes? But they sell a lot of them. Are young people really interested in Animal Crossing? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's just a 40-year-old generation that loves Animal Crossing and Zelda and stuff, right? But Parker says, hello, Rand and Jez. My first question is, do you think the recent dealings with NVIDIA over GeForce Now and Xbox support for their service? I wonder if you see any opportunity for the next Xbox console using NVIDIA GPUs as a way to differentiate from the competition by including things like DLSS, ray tracing, etc. My second question is, do you think Game Pass will come to Battle.net once the acquisition is complete?
I think NVIDIA's stuff's too expensive, so it goes against the principle of the console being cheap. If you start leveraging NVIDIA stuff, and that's why like pretty much all consoles use AMD, with the exception of the Tegra chips in the Nintendo Switch. Very cheap NVIDIA chips in the Nintendo Switch. But who knows, man? I mean, AMD is always trying to push its own versions of some of NVIDIA's features. Like they've got Super FX, which is their super resolution tech, and it's not as good as DLSS, of course, but you know, there is. We asked Microsoft a couple of years ago if they were going to bring Super FX or whatever it's called to Xbox consoles, and we haven't heard a peep about it. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe the next Xbox could be Intel powered. They do graphics cards now as well.
Nah, it'll be the same thing because they're gonna want the back and pad stuff to work.
Yeah, of course.
So
I'm just joking.
yeah, it won't be Nvidia. He wants to know if Game Pass will come to Battle.net after the acquisition is complete because Battle.net is leagues better than what PC Game Pass currently offers. I think eventually they just shut down Battle.net. I don't think it'll happen right away. I think that's something that will take time, and 5 years from now...
No, they won't. They won't shut down Battle.net. They won't, because all of World of Warcraft's chat systems and backend runs through Battle.net. You can't shut down Battle.net. You shut down Battle.net, you shut down all the games attached to it. So no, you can't shut down Battle.net. That's never gonna happen.
Shutting it down. They're shutting down Battle.net.
No,
And then I'll be there for the day Jez cries about it.
They're not gonna shut down Battle.net. Of course
They're shutting it down.
Like all the inter-game chat systems all run through Battle.net. They're not gonna shut down Battle.net. They'll shut down Xbox Live before they shut down Battle.net.
Shutting down Battle.net.
Nah, what they're gonna do is they're gonna move Xbox Live over to Battle.net instead.
Nope, shutting down Battle.net.
And the next Xbox is gonna be called the Battle Box.
You wish. What's gonna happen is they're gonna shut down Battle.net.
Nah, they're not gonna shut down Battle.net.
I don't know.
For that trash Xbox app? I don't think so. I personally would want to see that happen. I would want to see Xbox Game Pass move to Battle.net because the Xbox app on PC is terrible, and they have been trying to update it, and you know, fair play for that, I suppose, but it's still trash. It's still slow. It's still ugly. It's still feature poor. You know, it's so dumb that when I click on my library, it just doesn't instantly show me a list of my games. It just says, ready when you are. Games you add to play later will show up here. I don't want to have to click add to play later. Just show me the games I've got installed. I don't want to have to select a filter. Just show me the games I've got installed. It's like the people who make this app don't fucking use it. You know, it's wild to me. Whereas Battle.net, I open Battle.net and boom, the games I've got installed right there in the top left corner. Click on here to get them instantly. You know, good user experience. So I would hope to God that they would shut down the Xbox app and move it to Battle.net rather than the other way around. But who knows? But if Microsoft wants to keep the PC audience they've just acquired happy, they will absolutely not shut down Battle.net, because I will be in the streets with my pitchfork if they even hint of wanting to do such a thing. So yeah.
Right. Andrew Courtney says, with Starfield fast approaching, what parts of the game are you looking forward to most that were shown in the direct? I know for me it's exploring and world building and being a space pirate with a heart of gold.
I want to build a ship, man. I want to ship build. I want to build bases. I want to do all that sort of role playing stuff as well. I'm gonna be a space pirate without a heart. I'm gonna be an asshole. I'm gonna steal ships. I'm gonna murder everyone, and build my pirate camp in the, you know, out in the sticks. And anyone who crosses me will get slaughtered. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to. Oh my god, they've just debuted at the San Diego Comic-Con. They've just debuted a trailer for a Rick and Morty anime. Do you want to see a Rick and Morty anime, Rand?
Sure, I'd watch it. I like Rick and Morty.
That's really weird.
I'm just looking forward to playing the game and experiencing some space and playing and discovering some cool stuff on some different planets and going through the story. I don't have any interest in building outposts. I don't really have any interest in building my own ship, although I am looking forward to the ship combat and building my fleet. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Just exploring for a little bit until I get sick of exploring, I guess.
I'm gonna put so many hours into that game.
Rusty wants to say, Jez and Rand, I know you will like this one, Rand. Last week was my 30th birthday, so I decided to go out with the bang and bought the LG OLED C2 77-inch. Oh man, I'm jealous. And boy, was it worth the money. It's incredible. Unfortunately, though, Rand, I have to agree with Jez a couple weeks ago. You cannot claim to have completed Starfield unless you visit every planet, no matter, even if you do all the achievements. And if you don't, Rand, you will disgrace the entire gaming community. Spit on it for even suggesting not visiting every planet. Love you, though. Really, Rand. I'm sorry. Just like with Diablo 4, if I finish that campaign and it says beat the campaign and there's an achievement for it, it's finished. Beat Starfield. Beat Diablo 4. I doubt I'll visit 1,000 planets and spin on you for suggesting I have to. So, because I know Jez won't. Jez won't even beat the game. I'll beat the game, though. Hey, we're getting close to August, and how's that Persona 5 coming, by the way?
I started Final Fantasy 6. So I gotta
Did
finish
you?
that first now.
Further and further away from finishing Persona 5.
I
Yep.
put like 20 hours in Final Fantasy 6 on my ISOs. Like playing it here and just before I go to sleep. Man. I named you after a character in Final Fantasy 6 as well.
Yeah, you showed me. And I have a dog.
Yeah, the mean ninja Shadow. That's you.
Omen says, Happy Friday. If the ABK deal closed much earlier in the year, like January or February, do you think Diablo 4 would have launched on PlayStation? Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty much done on PlayStation. They're not going to scrap all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they announced it for PlayStation, and I don't think they're going to take any console announcements and then be like, oh, by the way, it's not. Which is why I think if the deal closes and the Odyssey thing is revealed at BlizzCon, they can easily not announce a PlayStation version and not have a PlayStation version.
Maybe.
But with Diablo, yeah, no, they announced the game for PlayStation from the beginning, so it was always coming. Logan Meyer, what's up, buddy? He says, many folks want Activision Studios freed from the COD mines and allowed to make other games. What are some games you'd like to see the studios tackle outside of Call of Duty, assuming they want to make other games? You know, I had an interesting discussion about this on X&C with Colton Mag on Monday. Because Mag's of the opinion that none of the studios will be allowed to leave the COD machine, and that Microsoft will want them to make COD every single year because it's too much revenue to pass up by having them skip every year. And I said, I don't necessarily know about that because I don't think a 3-year dev cycle for Call of Duty is sustainable anymore. And that they may need to give the teams more time. And that while they needed COD every single year when Activision was a publicly traded company because of their stock price and everything, and that was their cash, that was their gift horse, essentially. You don't necessarily need that with Xbox and Microsoft because Microsoft's stock price isn't going to fluctuate at all on how good or bad Call of Duty is. And that Microsoft has so many other, right? Because Activision only released Call of Duty. Like their entire year was always based around Call of Duty. But Microsoft has a plethora of other studios where you could manage and, be like, we need to make sure Call of Duty is excellent every year. So we need to give the teams extra time and they don't crunch and they want to work here instead of leaving. If we mandate that we need it every year and you need to make something every 3 years, maybe the quality of Call of Duty declines every single year and now you just get diminishing returns every single Call of Duty. Maybe you could run something like, hey, Call of Duty in 2024 and then, Gears 5 is in 2025. Call of Duty is in 2026. Here's Halo, the next Halo in 2027, or where you could alternate years and have another shooter in between while keeping up the quality of Call of Duty. And I don't know what they're going to choose, right? I don't know what path they're going to go because I understand them wanting to make money immediately, right? Where it's like you would need Call of Duty every single year to make that. And if you miss a year, you're probably not going to get as much revenue that year as you normally would. So you're in this kind of quandary, right? You have all these studios that are only working on COD, but 3 years isn't enough anymore, right? Matt Booty's talked about how AAA games are like 4 to 6 years. And not every game is doing what Call of Duty does, where it's a campaign, it's zombies maybe, it's a co-op mode potentially, it's multiplayer, right? They're doing a lot in Call of Duty. So, my hope is that they do let them have more time, so it is every other year. And when they do that, you're essentially giving them double time. Maybe then High Moon, if they have a pitch for a game, could go make something and make a Transformers game. Maybe Raven can then go and be like, you know what, we would like to revisit Singularity. Maybe Infinity Ward can make something else. Maybe one of them wants to bring back Prototype or whatever. I think it really depends on what they do with COD. Because if you stick to this current way, you're probably going to get nothing else. Those studios will be always on COD because they need to always be on COD, right? But if you give them slack, then there's the potential for them to work on other things, right? Is that how you view it as well, or?
Pretty much. I mean, it boils down to what they actually want to do. You know, a lot of people have this, and to be fair, the Patreon question didn't frame it this way, but a lot of people do say to me, like, act as if they're being forced to work on these games. They love Call of Duty, you know. Their Raven Software, Call of Duty Warzone is like their baby. You know, it's not like they hate working on it. But if they do have a pitch and they collectively as a team are like, you know, would be a cool thing to work on, you know, instead, or got a great idea for a Singularity reboot or something like that. I don't know. It could. I think it's more likely that it could happen under the new regime than the old regime. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. We have Governor Grimm who says, "Hey guys, Phil said Xbox lost the console war. The Xbox division has appeared to pivot to PC and mobile in the wake of being outsold 2-1 by PlayStation. Xbox players have said they feel like second-class citizens because some first-party games, mostly RTSs, skip the platform. PC players have said they feel like second-class citizens on account of how the PC Game Pass app works, etc. Given that they have seemingly accepted Forever Third, how do you see the future of the brand playing out between console, PC, and mobile? Do you think they update the online for the old COD goes in anticipation of putting them on Game Pass Core once the ABK deal closes? I think it's anticipation for them being on Game Pass. I don't know if it'll be in Game Pass Core, but what about that, Jez? About being Forever Third and the future playing out between console, PC, and mobile?
Sorry, can you repeat the last part? There's some.
How do you see the future of the brand playing out between console, PC, and mobile?
This is one of the things I'm nervous about, you know. Like, I wrote an article a few weeks ago that was like, Microsoft is forgetting console and neglecting console in their pursuit of these other horizontal expansions, right? I'm concerned that they will continue to do that, you know. But there's just no way to know. There's no crystal ball and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just have to wait it out. I mean, I don't know if you've got a different opinion of it, but there was Activision posted its financials recently, and they were talking about how mobile gaming has completely transformed the company, you know, revenue-wise. Like, despite the declines in Call of Duty or Blizzard and whatever, they've seen massive growth in Call of Duty Mobile, massive growth in Diablo Immortal, the game that everyone hated. Hearthstone's still doing well. Candy Crush still growing inexplicably. You know, it is absolutely wild, like, how much money they're making from mobile right now. I don't know how Microsoft's going to leverage that. Is it seriously just about the money? Like, I don't understand. When I'm trying to think about it, like, okay, they've acquired this stuff. What are they going to do with it? You know, what is the plan here? How does this grow gaming exactly? Didn't this just have not been separate or something?
I don't know how it would affect mobile. I mean, unless Microsoft goes out there and purchases a mobile studios or whatever, not like any of their current acquisitions even do mobile besides King. So I'm not really sure what the future of the brand is on mobile. If they bought a mobile publisher or more mobile studios, you can be like, well, they'll make more mobile games or something. But I'm not sure. Console and PC, Xbox views the PC market as a growth area, right? I honestly don't think the PC Game Pass app will ever be up to anybody's standards of Steam or even the Epic Game Store. I think there's too much problems there, and you know, I think like the struggle between the teams that own that probably will never allow it to reach what it should, the potential it should. I mean, hell, you even see a lot of games don't even release on PC Game Pass, right? Their PC app. Hogwarts isn't there. I don't think Resident Evil's there. Like the new Remnant game's not going to be there. Like all those big games don't come to that PC app, which means for most PC gamers, that's never going to be the place where they're going to play their PC stuff. Yeah, they're only going to have it installed to play, you know, games they get for free on the PC side of stuff. So
Epic Game Store's like that too. You know, it's the platform for your free games from Epic. You know.
yeah,
I like developers aren't volunteering their content into the Xbox app and the Microsoft Store, even though Microsoft offers a very generous cut compared to Steam, and even though Epic Game Store offers a very generous cut compared to Steam, developers aren't volunteering their content into those platforms because they don't feel like it's worth it. You know, that's again, it's like Windows Phone. It's a chicken and egg situation. You can't get the developers without the users, and you can't get the users without developers. Game Pass is a way to potentially work towards fixing that, but that'll just be for games that go into Game Pass probably. I don't know how Microsoft turns that around. Maybe they just buy Valve.
that won't. If they bought Valve, well, is Valve independent? No, they wouldn't be allowed to
Valve's
buy
a
Valve.
private company.
Yeah, but it still would fall under regulatory stuff, just
Yeah,
like
of course
Bethesda
it would.
did. Yeah, no,
I'm joking.
they wouldn't.
kind of.
They would not be allowed to buy Valve and Steam.
Yeah, I was joking.
That would be blocked by pretty much most of the regulators. But yeah, I don't know. Like the PC stuff, I know Xbox will like, hey, they bought Blizzard because they want to do the PC, and they maybe they see the growth of like putting all the Blizzard games on the Windows Store or whatever, and then they keep plugging away, you know, by putting their own games on console and PC, and maybe they think like Call of Duty will give them a push in some areas on Game Pass, but I honestly don't really see that much different changing between now and like the future. You'll probably see some PC exclusives like StarCraft 3 and Aura History Untold that might be some timed exclusives before they come to console or stuff like that, but I don't really see significant changes between the three. It's just, I don't know. That's just, we'll have to wait and see, but I that's kind of the way I look at it. Lee Sanders says, today I wanted to pitch the next AAA game for Microsoft Game Studios. Bringing back a massive license is the next action-adventure platform, third-person game powered by the incredible Xbox teraflop machine in the Series X. A new sleuth of attacks and unique weapons for the main character as they rescue various fun side characters as they aim to bring down Gruntilda and her evil screams. Set across a vast collection of locations, Ratchet and Banjo and Kazooie take on the forces of Gruntilda's army. But can they save the day? Banjo and Kazooie. Hashtag Xbox 2 pitch meeting.
I like the pitch. I'll send it to Phil.
Yeah,
maybe
pitch.
they'll greenlight it.
Yeah, maybe they'll greenlight it as long as they get a Switch version or a Switch 2 version, and then you can have your game. It's quite small, but smells like a big one. Hello, Rand and Jez. Any chance Microsoft nails down the Blade and Punisher IPs from Marvel and makes a third-person action game where you take down the Vampire Mafia and Hell's Kitchen? In other words, what are your favorite cheeses? Hashtag Blade X Punisher. I mean, Blade and Punisher IPs would be pretty sweet. You like give the Punisher IP to Coalition and have them make like a Punisher game. Whew, that would be cool.
I'm not really familiar with Punisher, but I do like the OG Blade movies with Wesley Snipes. Yeah, I love those movies so damn much. I was so hyped when Triple H was in the third one.
I bet you were.
I was like, oh my god, it's Triple H. I had no idea he was in it. But Blade IP to Ninja Theory, maybe? That'd be sick.
That'd be cool. As for my favorite cheese, American cheese. Although I do like mozzarella if it's melted on something.
Oh man, America has no idea what cheese is, man.
Oh, here we go again.
You don't, man. You don't. America doesn't know cheese, man.
Yeah, we don't know cheese, I guess.
You don't
That's
know
true.
cheese. American cheese is terrible.
I'm just saying, I like American. I like mozzarella when it's melted on stuff. Like mozzarella on Italian beef sandwiches. Oh, yum, yum, yum.
My favorite cheese is Cathedral City, probably.
Never heard of it.
Extra mature British cheddar. Can't go wrong.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's too good for Americans.
Tommy says, any idea when the next Elite controller comes out? Feels like a missed opportunity to not have one coming soon with all the positive Xbox momentum recently. Thanks for the show, guys. Really appreciate the work you guys do. I mean, what they did the Xbox.
I haven't heard anything about it. The Elite
Series,
Core.
The Elite Core, and then they added the Yeah, they added the red and blue colors, and then they updated the what's the website where you can build your own? Design
The
Lab.
design lab, yeah.
They upset the Design Lab to make your own stuff. And you think, yeah, they would want to make a Series 3 because right now, like, those controllers don't have the button for, taking screenshots or video clips. Not that you can share them on Twitter anyways, but, so, yeah, what is it, 2023? Maybe we could see. I mean, Microsoft loves controllers. There's apparently a new Forza controller coming. So it's one thing we do know is that Microsoft will continue to release controllers. And I would imagine maybe at some point they do a Series 3 with a whole bunch of different improvements, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe next year or maybe in 2025. I don't know. I mean, certainly not this year, right?
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't heard a damn thing about it. I need to get back on the ball. Maybe.
Do you think it's you think the timing's too late on a Starfield console? Because Sony just revealed the Spider-Man 2 custom console, which is going to sell gangbusters.
Yeah, me and Jeff talked about this morning. I think it's probably too late. I don't think they can spin up a fab to put that together now. And if they did have fabrication in place for it, it probably would have leaked alongside the headset and the controller, because it all would have been the same source, right? I don't think it's happening, but could be wrong.
I mean, they did announce the Xbox custom console Series X at Gamescom one night live with Jeff Keighley.
True.
Granted, that wasn't coming out until November, so it was a couple months leeway, and Starfield comes out in September, so it's like, I sort of feel like we're not getting one, because if we were, it would sort of be announced already. I think it's like too close. I mean, even you look at the Spider-Man one, it's like what, 2 months away? No, less than a month. It's like a month. I mean, maybe there's enough time to do it because the Spider-Man 2 one is coming out September 1st, and it's July 21st, so that's like a month and a couple weeks. So maybe they would have to really announce it like the beginning of August for a custom Xbox Series X Starfield or something.
Yeah, true.
I do wonder, though, Jez, with the custom Spider-Man 2 coming September 1st, do you think that was the original planned release date for the game? Because, like, why else have the console release September 1st and the game's coming October 20th?
I did hear that Spider-Man was launching in September, didn't I? Did I tell you about it?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, I heard Spider-Man was launching in September a while ago. And I thought it's going to be going head-to-head with Starfield, but no, it's not.
Well, it looks like it might have gone head-to-head because the console's coming out September 1st. Starfield is
6th.
September 6th, but September 1st for early access.
Yeah. I pretty much, I thought it was going head-to-head, but I guess not.
I think the distinct possibility that was the original release date. Otherwise, why not have the console come out October 20th with the game, right?
Yeah.
Why is such the lead time in between? Radimus Cisco, hello, Randall muted and heavy breathing Jez. Rand, I saw the last episode of Fonz's Gaming Talk Live podcast, and his guest, Doc Dark 1985, was more than amazing. I think he would be an awesome guest. Jez, good luck with the one chip challenge. Make a will before you do it. Random question. Dark Magician or Blue Eyes White Dragon? Or maybe you guys have another one in mind, like the Black Luster Shoulder. Thanks for having the best podcast ever. Just no more banning like the other time, Jez. I mean, I guess Dark Magician. I don't know what that even means, but
they're Yu-Gi-Oh cards, man.
Oh, all right. Well, Dark Magician. I
guess. Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
I do not know Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Nope, sorry.
I'm gonna choose Charizard.
Okay. Charizard.
That's a Pokemon card. But Pokemon cards is way better than Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh's lame.
Parker Griffith. Hey guys, with the digital-only cloud gaming era dawning on us, what do you think game stores need to do or should do to survive and keep on going? I'm a true believer in supporting your local game store, but sometimes it is hard with the convenience of digital. Yeah, I saw was it Tesco or some UK stores no longer going to be stocking physical games or something, Jez?
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the last generation for physical games.
You think so?
I think the PS6 and the Xbox Series X2, I don't think they have disk drives. I think like you'll be able to buy disk drives separately. But that'll be for games you already own, backwards compatible stuff and whatever. I think the era of disc-based console games is coming to an end next gen. I'll bet money on that. And there's nothing you can do to stop it because the convenience just outstrips everything else. It's already happened for PC games. When's the last time you bought a physical PC game? I haven't bought a physical PC game in about 20 years. It's inevitable, man. It's inevitable. So yeah, rip in peace, physical games.
Physical, yeah. We harden knew ye. I can't wait for the wailing of teeth and the gnashing of teeth when they get
The wailing
revealed.
of teeth.
Shut up, Jez. The gnashing of teeth and the wailing of people when there's no disk drives for next gen. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Jay Foley says, "Hey guys, glad you're back on Fridays. Pick one game that you could bring back to life and make it Xbox exclusive. Mine is Army of Two."
Interesting question.
Like for a sequel, or just make it Xbox, like bring it back?
Sequel. Let's just assume it means sequel.
Quantum Break 2, baby.
Oh, you stole my pick, bro.
Yeah, Quantum Break 2. Give me it. I want it. Save Beth. Come on, you're not gonna
XCOM.
XCOM.
Because
if they buy Take Two, they got
kind of
XCOM,
dead
bro.
right now.
Bro,
Yeah.
you buy Take Two, you got XCOM, bro.
Yeah, that's
Think about
true.
it.
That's true. But
You're not gonna bring back Banjo for the Banjo Bros,
Nope.
or Killer Instinct for the Killer Instinct Bros.
Nope. I want my XCOM back. I mean, the lead developer of XCOM left Firaxis, which does not, the guy who created the franchise who's been there for like decades. That does not bode well for the future of XCOM. So, I'm not very happy about that, Rand.
Yeah. And Achievement says, if Sony signed a 10-year deal, any parity is forced. Doesn't that mean that if a Series XL isn't produced, they don't have to optimize COD for the PS5 Pro? I mean, we don't know what the contracts would entail, but that'll be something that we find out down the road. Maybe the PS5 Pro version would just be the same as the other ones. I don't know. We'll eventually find out, though, because it sounds like there's not going to be a next-gen Xbox or current-gen, mid-gen refresh for the Xbox Series X. So
yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how some of this. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how some of this parity clause stuff plays out. Just have to keep an eye on it, because if you see like games being held back or whatever, ABK games not taking advantage of the Xbox features, then it's a parity clause probably. It's going to be interesting.
Inimenic Dream says, Windows Phone OS was the best. Live tiles for the win.
Hell yes.
And we have iSilar saying, random question, why is it that Rand is taller than Jez on the stream thumbnail? Because I am taller in real life. I don't know. You'd have to ask Sean LeBrie. He made the thumbnail. Maybe it looks better that one is taller than the other. I'm not sure. And he also says, why haven't we gotten any pictures of the Ferrari from the YouTube millions you made? I'm always a class clown friendly troll. I think you missed my previous super chat. No, I got it. I just read it because we were doing Patreon questions. So yeah, just because I don't have a Ferrari and I don't have YouTube millions. So Jez constantly says that, but that's not true. And Radimus Cisco says, for traditions, scalebound. Oh, I thought wonderful weekend. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, and with that, me and Jez will be back on Friday for another Xbox 2. And sometime this week, Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll be doing
the chippening.
You'll be able to see Jez hopefully not die, but question his life choices.
Yes, I'll be questioning those life choices
as part of the Patreon. Although we will post the clips on Twitter. It's gonna be a party because I'm gonna be there. Gaz is doing the chip challenge. Hargeet's gonna do it. So there's gonna be Jez, Hargeet, and Gaz doing it, and then King David wants to be there, and Colt wants to be there. So it's just gonna be a nice party. So Patreon.com/XB2 to get access to that in the 750 tier, and then we'll post the clips on Twitter.
Yeah.
So until then, thank you guys so much. We love you all.
You rock.
And we'll see you real soon.
Take care, everybody. And don't forget to check out Manscaped. Check out code XB2.
Thank you to Manscaped. And thank you for THX for that late super chat. But later, bye.
Bye.